I'm to edit the beginning of this out, but I don't know how. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm Chris the Candyman, and you already know what time it is. Tonight we're drafting best ball teams and talking PGA Tour best ball, the American Express. We're going to draft some of the Underdog Open, the battle royales on Underdog, the weekly tournaments, right? And so I've done a few. We're going to do a few more tonight. We're going to look at the custom model. We're going to go through the data. We're going to have some fun. I've got a Twitter thread up that we're going to review and go through, and we'll talk some stuff. Maybe look at a few different Twitter threads. I've seen a lot of good Twitter threads about the American Express and some of the things, but I found one early in the week that I retweeted. I want to dive through it with y'all, and then we can go mess with the custom model. We can draft some of these American Express teams, and then we're going to jump hard into the Albatross. I've got my model built out. I've got all my data ready, so we can get into some things, look at the ADPs, see the different tiers of players, what makes sense, the players' histories on these courses, or for these tournaments. The courses change except for Augusta, but all of that good stuff and more, drafting the Albatross and talking about it. We're also going to just review kind of our one and done picks for the week as we get into the American Express. Forgot to mention that. Although I already mentioned it, I was just on mute. Scheduling. So if you're new to the channel, or if you're watching this in the future, I don't know how you got past all the muted stuff and you're here now, but if you're here with us now, come say what up in the chat. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you slap the like on your way in. I'm doing PGA fantasy streams and best ball drafts every Wednesday night for the PGA season here. You can find it. Also, Monday nights, we do the Ballsy show. It's coming back once the big board drops. So probably in a week or two, we'll be kicking off season 2 of Ballsy. That's Bindles and I co-hosting a show where we just talk everything dynasty, best ball, fantasy football, all the new rookie prospects, everything going on. Super fun time. And then I'm going to be doing either Tuesday or Thursday, rotating every other week for more NFL best ball streams and drafts. And then there's always the chance for some weekend streams that pop up on Friday or Saturday nights if I'm free. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, turn notifications on if you want to come draft with me. And yeah, I've got a bunch of slow Albatross going, so we can fire off some of those too, and then we'll try to do some fast ones. But first, we're going to get into the American Express. We're going to review some data, some need to know things, and then draft some of those. What up? Everyone in the chat, what up? We got Jeff. What up? Hartman. We got Byron, my man. Everyone's checking their computers and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. All right, let's hit the intro, and then we'll bring it back, and we'll get this thing started. But overall, it's like the guy can ball. Like, actions speak louder than words. Ayo, okay, we're here. Some technical difficulties, but that's just how it goes. It's a Wednesday night. Anything can happen. Fun TGL match last night. I haven't gotten to see all of them yet, and I need to go back and rewatch some of them. But I caught the one last night, and electric. It was pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Nice little matchup. Justin Rose gets an Albatross on the big screens. That was pretty cool. Fun times. Shout out to Dale. What's up, brother? How we doing? All right. So this is a tweet that I retweeted earlier this week. It is from the Greg Ducharme at the real GFD on Twitter. And let me go ahead and, well, this is fine. You can see it. I'm going to move it. My head's kind of in the way, but it's good enough. Anyways, he says, the PGA Tour, we're heading to Palm Springs for the American Express this week. Scotty Scheffler is back. Let's take a look at these courses and see some of the favorite plays. So we're gonna scroll through this and just kind of get some takeaways and kind of highlight some of the key things here. So there's 3 golf courses, of course, that they're rotating through. They've got the Pete Dye Stadium course they're going to play on Sunday, as well as rotating through La Quinta and the Nicholas Tournament course. We all know it's a pro-am, so that's kind of a different aspect to it, but shouldn't really impact anything fantasy-wise. La Quinta, par 72, pretty easy course to play. So we got to take advantage there, go low. We're looking for guys who are going to score a lot of birdies. So one thing everyone's been talking about, the birdie to bogey ratio this week is a key stat. The Nicholas Tournament course, again, one of the easier courses out there on the tour schedule. Then we have the Pete Dye Stadium course, notorious for being one of the hardest courses ever created, and then it's been revised over the years. It's aged. Players have gotten better and hitting the ball further. So, anyways, it's fine. It's not the worst course anymore to play. It's not too tough, but we're looking for guys who are really strong in their approach, really strong going on a heater, getting hot putting. As John Rahm once said, this is a fucking putting contest. That's what we're getting into. Although John Rahm has won this event, I'm pretty sure he won it after he even said that. Yeah, the stadium course was originally so hard that players had voted to have it removed from the schedule, but now it's back, and it's one of the easier courses. So times have changed. Things they've done to make those changes before it came back: expanding the greens, tighter hole locations, and changed the bunkers. Installed the different the firmer, faster greens, and so just some updates. We'll look at the last winners of this event, and it also kind of sticks out. So Sepp Straka was 36th in OWGR when he won. Dunlap, of course, was an amateur. John Rahm, fourth in the world. Swafford was outside the top 100. Siwoo Kim was right at the top 100. Landry was well outside the top 200. So, it's anyone's game. Whoever's in the field can potentially go low, go on a hot streak, and win this thing. Yo, what's up, Dad? Hashtag I know ball. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're having a great Wednesday night. Thanks for stopping in. Okay, so 4 of the last 6 winners were top 10 in shots gained approach. So like what I was saying, shots gained approach, a big factor here. Getting close to those pin locations, those tight pin locations. And then 4 of the last 6 winners were top 8 in shots gained. Putting is on the stadium course. 5 of the last 6 winners made 5 or fewer bogeys. So approach play and putting are key. We'll be factoring that in heavily when we do the custom model coming up soon. With basically no rough, you got to hit the small greens and avoid bogeys. 4 of the last 6 winners hit 55 plus greens in regulation, which sounds completely insane, but I would assume that's high. So focusing on approach play, especially from 50 to 125 out, remember that. And then the putting ceiling, looking for good wedge players who can get hot with the putter. I like that. That's kind of how I like to describe myself. If I can get out there and get hot from 50 to 125 and my putting game is on, I'm having a good round of golf. Ben Griffin is a top play, of course. He knows how to go low for 4 rounds. Greg has some stats around him. He's reached 18 or under or better 5 times in 2025. So he can go low. 22nd in shots gained approach. He gained 4 strokes putting in 6 events. T7, T9 in his last 2 trips here. It's pretty good. Top 20 in 7 straight PGA Tour events. Wow. So, I mean, Ben Griffin, he's ADP wise, he's already expensive. We know he's a top golfer, and I'll be interested to see kind of where he's going. I'm assuming he's still going in the first round. If I remember correctly, I was doing some of the American Express drafts earlier in the week. Now the Albatross dropped, all the ADPs in my head are confused, but Ben Griffin, a top option. Sam Burns, another top option. I remember he was going in the first half of the beginning of the first round, and I have 3 one and done leagues this year. I'm using Sam Burns in one of my one and dones this week, so I think it is a good fit. And he led the tour in strokes gained putting for 2025. He's gained 4+ strokes putting in 10 events. Iron play, driving accuracy can be a weakness, but there's no rough here, so he's above average wedge player. From 50 to 125 yards, he's 63rd. So he's pretty good. So Sam Burns could be a good fit. We'll find out more about that later. Harry Hall, of course, known for his putting. And in scoring stats, his scoring average, he's actually second in scoring average, so he can go low. Birdie average, he's third. He ton of birdies last year. I think one thing I was looking at for the scramble season was just the number of birdies and the birdies per round that these golfers were achieving in 2025. And Harry Hall was jumping to the top of my list, so I was drafting a ton of Harry Hall in the scramble because of that reason. Par 4 birdie or better, he's second. Another thing here is there's a lot of par 5s here and easy par 5s. So we want guys who are good at par 5 scoring. I think we might get into that at some point to add that into the data, into the model. So this could be a place for Harry Hall. And yeah, from 50 to 125 out, he's 30th in 2025. Siwoo Kim, another name that's come up. I'm using one of my I was going to use Harry Hall. I thought about using a one and done spot on Harry Hall. I didn't do it. I did use one on Siwoo Kim. He won here in 2021. He looked pretty good last week. I think he had a top 10 last week, right, on the Sony. He's got 5 straight top 20s on tour, so he's got consistency. And he gained almost 12 strokes tee to green last week and 5 strokes on approach 7 times last year. Putting can be a weakness for him, but not here. It says he gained 2.5 strokes putting in 5 of his 7 trips here. Jeff says, saw on Golf Channel that this will be the highest OWGR weighted score of the year outside of the majors players due to the field size and the strength of the field. Yeah, that's really interesting too. It is a strong field. It's a large field. And that is pretty interesting though, right? Even stronger though than like some of the signature events. I guess it's because of the field size. The signature events have a smaller field, right? But then you're going to have guys like Fleetwood and Rory showing up to those events who still haven't showed up on the PGA Tour. They're out in Dubai having a blast. JT Poston, the Postman, he's a guy that can get hot putting. He seems to love the desert. 3 straight top 12s here. That's a pretty nice baseline. 5 total top 25s. T6 is best in 23. He's gained 4+ strokes putting 5 times last year, 4+ strokes on approach 3 times last year. Even though, yeah, he's kind of a down year with his irons, but he can still get hot. So what did we learn? It's the approach play. It's the putting. Guys who have won here in the past can come from anywhere in the field. So let's do something. First, let's look at the course key stats. I want to jump into this. Boom. The blinding light. Yeah, it's not in dark mode. I probably should. I could have thrown it into the Comet browser to get an automatic dark mode, but I'm going to deal with it this time. This is rickrungood.com. This is his premium database and dashboards he's got set up. So this is PGA West, American Express, and the part that my head's covering up all just shows that Sepp Straka won last year, 25 under. Nick Dunlap the year before at 29 under. John Rahm in 2023, fucking putting contest, according to John Rahm, 27 under. Hudson Swafford at 23 under in 2022. So what can we see here about the Pete Dye PGA West Stadium course? This kind of pops off the page to me. So stat correlation for strokes gained, birdie to bogey ratio has a really strong stat correlation here. You see it popping off right here. So birdie to bogey ratio, that's something that we want to be targeting and thinking about. Par 4 scoring average is actually a pretty highly correlated. What else do we find? Scrambling, scrambling's fine. Like I said, you don't have to. Guys who can scramble can do fine here if they can hit the ball close to the hole in those tight green locations. Also, the shots gained tee to green. So shout out to Siwoo Kim. And I think it was Ben Griffin too. The just shots gained totals highly correlated, but it usually always is. Putts made over. What is this? Putts made per event over 10 feet. Okay, there's the highlight. is pretty correlated. So making some big putts if you can't get it in there close with your wedges. But I mean, getting in over 10 feet is still relatively close, speaking. Anything within 10 feet is going to be incredibly close. Birdie or better percent being very high. Okay, so I think we've got some stats here we can work with. And then we'll go down to some course fit. We'll go down to the total course fit here, the adjusted fit. This is highlighting players based on their approach fit, putt fit, and then off the tee fit. And we've also got their salaries here to see, where these players are going. It's kind of salaries can also be thought of as, the higher salary, the higher ADP these players are going to get drafted in our weeklies, in our battle royale drafts. So Scheffler, of course, the top adjusted fit, makes sense. He's got the best odds to win, highest salary player. Michael Brennan's popping here because he's got pretty strong off the tee fit and approach fit. A little bit lackluster on the putting. So I think the off the tees overcompensating here. I'm looking for players who are balanced. Let's look at some of the players who have won it previously, like Sepp Straka. Sepp Straka won it last year. He's very balanced. So off the tee, not as strong as Brennan. Of course, they've been playing different events as well, so you got to factor that in. But Sepp only 0.33 off the tee, but then 0.27 approach, 0.18 putting. So he's just in the green for each category. So I think highlighting players who are in the green for each category is directionally accurate. Cantlay pops here. Cantlay's at the top, and he's in the green for every category. Cantlay's the third guy I'm starting in my one and done this week. So for my 3 one and dones, I'm going Cantlay, Siwoo Kim, Sam Burns. Pearson Cootie is up here at the top, but he's not. I don't think he's strong enough in the approach fit for me to really think about him in that way. I'm gonna sort this by. Let's see if we can sort it by approach fit. I think it will. Right now, it was sorted by total adjusted fit, but let's go through. Do I like it better this way? Honestly, I don't know that I do. I'm gonna go back to the total adjusted fit, and we'll just kind of look for those guys who have green across the board, like Patrick Cantlay. Michael Thorbjornsen is an interesting name. If his putter gets hot, that's his weakness right now. But if his putter gets hot, and we saw it get hot a couple weeks ago in that Tuesday night TGL match where Thorbjornsen was just, the ringer on the Boston Commons team. I think he's a guy that is he's not under the radar, but he's kind of I think he's going to be well owned in like DFS, but for these drafts on Underdog, for these battle royales, I think I like that. I like picking him, getting some exposure to Michael Thorbjornsen. Kevin Yu is another interesting name. He's popped on a lot of models, and I think he's a good fit with his approach play. His putting has been negative recently, but I think if he can figure that out, he's an interesting name to watch here for sure. I've seen him on a lot of lists. A lot of people like mentioning him. Sam Burns, of course, a great putter, decent at the approach. Kind of we said like middle of the pack, so he could be a nice fit here. Ludwig Oberg, I think he's a really nice fit here as well. I don't know that I want to use him on my one and done just yet. I kind of want to save him for later to see how hot he can get and see if he can be a guy that you want to use during a major or just a lot of the higher dollar amount signature events. So Ludwig's a guy. Jeff says Emilio Gonzalez would be a great pick for the dailies. I imagine he'll be almost entirely undrafted and he's near the top of your model. Yeah, it's a pretty good shout. I don't know a ton about Emilio Gonzalez. We can take a deeper look at him specifically. In fact, I'm going to hop over to Data Golf. Let's go ahead and look up Emilio because I've seen his name. I'm not super familiar with his game. He's a younger guy, only turned pro about 5 years ago. And did he just played at the Sony? Is that where I saw his name? Yeah, he just played at the Sony. He got a T50. He's a good putter, good at his around the green. His approach was bad at the Sony, but last 25 starts, Corn Ferry Tour guy. And he didn't have any major history. He won US Open cut last year. I probably saw his name. I was going through all of the 2024, 2025 history of all the majors recently, and so like I've scrolled through everyone's names. He definitely, I remember seeing him there at least, and then it confirmed that he was there below, but he got cut. A lot of guys get cut with little experience in these majors. It's kind of surprising when they don't. But he's a guy, yeah, he's got some accuracy. His approach is a little bit below what we'd want, but not terrible. But Emilio Gonzalez, a name to watch out for. I like that shout. I think that's a good scroll down play, a really good scroll down to consider. And he does pop here in the model. Uh, he's popping with a lot of his off the tee fit. I think his approach fit, we'd want it to be stronger, and the putting fit, I think, like Kevin you can be a little bit negative if you can really get in there close with your approach, but uh yeah, just kind of a scroll down name. Yeah, KFT graduate, says Jeff. Svensson, Jesper Svensson is an interesting name to also add, kind of a scroll down name, a little bit less of a scroll down than Emilio, not bottom of the barrel cheap at 6,000 salary, but 7,100. I like Jesper Svensson. He was kind of a interesting guy. I did draft him, I think, once or twice in the scramble. So he's a guy that's going to play a lot of these larger field tournaments and try to move up in the world rankings. Of course, Daniel Brown has really strong approach fit and a nice putt fit. Russell Henley could be, someone to consider for our drafts because of his really good approach fit. We talked about Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin has green across the board as well. Rico Hoey, he's a good approach player. If his putting is turned around with his new putting style, I think he switched to a broomstick putter this year, going into this year. So, let's go look at Hoey at the Sony. I'm pretty sure he got cut there. And no, he was a T50, but his putting was he actually gained strokes putting. So that's encouraging since he got I think he was second. He got outright second at the Bank of Utah Championship. I'm pretty sure that's when he switched to the broomstick style putter, and he's been a much more consistent putter in just a few events that he's been at since then. But yeah, I mean, I think Hoey's kind of an interesting post hype pick that I'm very high on, really high on him coming into the season. And if he's got that putter figured out, then he'd fit nicely here. Kurt Kitayama, a name that I've seen on a lot of lists. I think he's been going pretty highly. I'm not going to go Finau. Sepp Straka we talked about. Grillo, I think, is a nice fit. Adam Scott, of course, could be a good fit here. If I'm not mistaken, Adam Scott, I want to say Adam Scott had won this tournament in the past. He's won a lot, though, so we're going to have to scroll through a lot of victories to find it. I can't remember, honestly, but I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like he had, but I'm not sure. Berger, interesting. Patrick Fishburne's another a scroll down name. Keith Mitchell, I think, is an interesting fit, a pretty good fit. Pendrith, not bad. Harry Hall fits really well with his putting, and he's good enough on approach, like we said when we were going through Greg's Twitter. All right, sorry about that. Taking phone calls from the wife and the toddler, or not really the toddler, the child who's just still awake. Matty Schmidt's interesting. Brian Harmon is a good fit here, I think. Blades Brown's in the field. That's pretty funny. That's pretty interesting. He's that 18-year-old with one of the best names in golf, Blades Brown, and supposedly a good course fit, but I don't think he'll do too well here in this strong of a field. Matt McCarty is a guy that I like here. I think he did well here last year. Let's go look up Matt McCarty because he's a guy that I was targeting in some of my drafts earlier this week. His history here, he got cut. He got cut last year. Well, not what I was expecting. Who was I thinking of then? Oh well. So, interesting. Maybe not. At least not a great course history, but he hadn't played a whole lot. He's a Corn Ferry Tour graduate. Had his first year on the tour last year, right? So who else? Who really stands out with this approach play? Batia is an interesting name. He's a guy that could win. I feel like any given tournament, he's a guy to watch for sure. Yeah, that's right. Because this is something we talked about for the scramble drafts, right? Like Adam Scott does have to play his way into the U.S. Open, and so he's going to be grinding out to get some more points on the FedEx Cup points and world ranking points. Any other names that really pop for me? Charlie Hoffman is a interesting name and definitely a scroll down player, veteran guy, won a bunch on the tour, and I think people just forget or don't always go for strong approach players. Adrian Sadier, I think, really strong approach, good putter, could be surprising. Wasn't it? I'm trying to think of what was for Sadier. I was looking him up. He's qualified right now for the Open. He's on track to be qualified for the PGA and the US Open, but he's not qualified for the Masters. But he's someone I've been looking up for my Albatross research. This is Adrian Sadier. Maybe it's Sadier. He is French. Adrian Sadier. Kind of an interesting fit there. Nick Taylor could be waiting to win any moment. Where is Davis Riley? I feel like I've seen Bezadenhout get called out. I don't know if I feel good about that pick. I'm actually interested in chasing Davis Riley just a little bit. I don't know if we already skipped past his name. There it is. Davis Riley, good enough putter, good enough approach, and someone that played pretty well until Sunday last week and didn't even play that bad on Sunday, but just didn't have kind of, fell apart on holes. What was it? 6, 7, and 9, or it was 7, 8, and 9. So Davis Riley, I think, is also kind of an interesting name here. Sweet. Okay. So we've gone through the adjusted fit. We've looked at some of the key stats, some of the key players. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and queue up a draft and see how long it takes to fill, get into one. I'm gonna see which goes first. So we've got the options here, the par 3 or the Underdog Open. I'm gonna see if a par 3 will fill. I want to do like 1 or 2 more par 3s, and I want to do a couple more of the Underdog Open. So we're waiting on 2 for a par 3, and then let me jump into the Underdog Open and see how many we're waiting on there. There was another really interesting one. Okay, this one filled, so I'm going to jump out of the par 3 if I can. It's 5 out of 6, but I'm going to leave the par 3. I'll try to join that one later. Let's do this Underdog Open with full attention first. We got Nez in here. And then also there was a $5 option. I think it was called, I forget what it was called, but I drafted a few of those. It already closed. It already closed this week though, but that would have been a really interesting one to get into. Obviously we're going Scheffler here, and feels like kind of a cheat code to get Scotty Scheffler, especially in these Albatross drafts. I don't know if you guys have done any Albatross lately or any of them this year so far, but I mean, my wheels are turning when I had a top 5 finish in the Albatross a few years ago, and that team didn't have Scotty on it, but you had to have Xander Schauffele because he won the Open. That was the year Xander won 2 majors, and it went Xander, Scotty won the Masters, Xander won the PGA, Bryson won the US Open, and Xander won the Open. So I had Xander and I have my team. We can look at my team. I have it saved over here, but I had Xander and Bryson, and I didn't have Scotty because I don't think you could have had Xander and Scotty if I'm not mistaken, but I forget exactly the winning lineup what he had, but Since then, you've wanted Scotty Scheffler. It's really hard. You want to have the golfer that wins the Open on your Albatross lineup. It's gonna be really hard to win, if not the whole thing. And you gotta get there. You gotta have guys that do well at the Masters, but you don't necessarily have to have the guy that wins the Masters. You just have to be good enough in your pod, and then you're gonna want guys that win the PGA and the US Open and the Open, or get just a lot of. If you have a ton of golfers in the top 10, then that might actually overcome some of the teams that even do have the winner but don't do well otherwise. Some pod luck to it, but all right, back on the clock. Thor Bjornsson has risen a lot. I think he's still an interesting name. Pendrith was the guy we talked about. Akshay, I think, is a fun one to go for. Hoey might still be there later on. I'm actually going to go with Pendrith and Batia over Thor Bjornsson. Even though I like him, I feel like I can build out a pretty strong team with Scheffler, Pendrith, and Batia. The non-Scotty teams having next to no chance. Well, I'm doing a few. The odds that Scotty finishes top 25 or top 20 is like very, very, very high. But he doesn't necessarily have to finish top 10. And if he's not top 10, you don't have to have him. If we look at Scotty's history here, so Scotty last year at the American Express didn't play it last year, of course, because of the hand injury, but in 2024, T17, so that wasn't a must-have. In 2023, he had a T11. That's nice, but not a must-have. 2022, that's before he was the real Scotty. I mean, he was becoming the real Scotty that year. T25, and I think 2021 was the first time he played it. He got cut. So back when Scotty could actually get cut. So I think you don't have to have Scotty in this one. But for the Albatross, I'm concocting ideas of how you could possibly win the Albatross without Scotty, and he just obviously has to have kind of a down majors year, not win any of the majors, and not really get a lot of T5s or T10s, but he will. So, and we'll get more into the Albatross talk later too. I've got a lot of stuff I want to show you guys with the stats and the history by the golfers and all the stuff we can look at for that, since that did drop in the last couple. My dog, how we doing, brother? Do you try to do more volume at different points or draft throughout the Albatross? I draft throughout. I don't know that it gets any easier at the end or it's any better at the beginning, but there are sometimes combinations you can only get at certain times, just like in like our NFL drafts. But in the golf drafts, I feel like it's even more extreme because ADP means even less. So there were combinations last year. Oh, Hoey went right before I wanted to get him. Let's see. We liked Pearson Cootie and Nick Taylor just fine. Adam Scott's a pretty good pick here. Jason Day is interesting. Who else did we like in the model? Kevin Yu. We can probably wait on Kevin Yu. Brian Harmon. I'm going to take Nick Taylor. I think go Nick Taylor and do I want to go Adam Scott? How's he been playing lately? I'm scroll-wise. I'll go some Adam Scott, right? We liked him decently in the overall model. Pearson Cootie was pretty high up there too, but not very good for approach fit. Adam Scott was a pretty solid green all the way across off the tee. Approach is good. Good putter. Solid player, obviously. Former Masters winner, green jacket wearing, the great Adam Scott. So we'll see what we can get with our last two picks in a little bit. These are with our last pick. I always forget how quickly these 6-round drafts go. So one pick left. Maybe I'll just go all studs because right now I've got a lot of studly guys. I'm not really scrolling down at all yet. So I think for the Albatross last year, Neiman, Joaquin Neiman he was rising aggressively because he wasn't qualified for a lot of the majors until later in the season. He got exemptions. He was the number one ranked live golfer. He got a lot of exemptions in the majors. So he was like going super late in ADP, like a late round pick for a while. And then he was in the middle. And then at the end of the drafts, he was like a second round pick. So you can see some flipping of like guys being going in like the where they go. And you see guys who are getting drafted in the top, 3 or 4 rounds who will fall out too. So with the Albatross, I do like to just draft it throughout the season and draft it whenever I can. Kind of idea about that, and it's just fun to draft, and you just get more information as it goes on. The season goes on, you learn more things. Golfers move up and down in the world rankings. They lose qualification or gain qualification into events like the PGA or the US Open or even the Open. So it's fun to keep tabs on the players who aren't fully qualified yet because there's a list. There's like 40 guys who are fully qualified for all 4 majors, maybe less. I have the data. I forget the total number though, but it's not enough to fill out a draft. So you have to take some guys who are either currently qualified or you assume will be qualified when it comes. And we'll talk more about that later in the Albatross data that I put together in the data set that I've got going, and I've got it updated through this week. So I know guys who are kind of like potentially going to be in the field, but aren't guaranteed to be in the field. I'll go Kevin Yu here. Kevin Yu or Brian Harmon, either one, whatever Buster Boys does. Jeff says, ranking's so terrible for the Albatross right now. Love to see it. Yeah. Yeah. The ADP is pretty bad. So there's a lot of errors, a lot of issues. Tony Finau is still getting drafted. He's not eligible for a single major currently. He's going to have to play into it, but he's not even currently on track to be qualified for any of the majors. And his ADP's like, he's getting drafted. So I'm going to go ahead and go Kevin Yu. I think is what I want to do there, right? I mean, that'd be a fun one. Kevin, you get different, not a total scroll down, but nice. All right, that was the $10 Underdog Open. Let's check back on this par 3. See how close this is to filled. Well, waiting on 4. So unless the Underdog Open is worse than that, I'm most likely going to be leaving that one. Waiting on 3. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back out. I might not get to do any more par 3s. It did go. They're both 3 out of 6. Okay, Underdog's 4 out of 6. The Underdog Open. I'm going to leave the par 3 again. The Underdog's 5 out of 6. It's filling up. So I'm going to go to that draft. All of my slow albatrosses right now have like, tons of hours. So we'll get into some Underdogs low drafts too. We got Hartman in the house, the 2 spot. We got Coolers at the 3. Let's fucking go. And yeah. The Albatross, there's a lot of things wrong with the ADP. And so if you're drafting strictly off ADP right now for the Albatross, you're going to draft some bad teams, which really only affects the pod that you're in because when it advances, the teams that make it to round 2 are going to be a little bit sharper. Most likely, you never know. You only have to get so many golfers right at the Masters, but obviously you get to draft 12 golfers, and there's only so many more spots to get into the Masters between now and then. Like potentially it increases slightly, but yeah, so that's, it's pretty hard to draft a team of 12 golfers, even off of ADP, and you don't get at least, I would say, like 8 guys in the Masters, but it's possible that you could just have a really unlucky kind of blind go at it and end up with like 5 or 6 guys in the Masters, and then that'd be miserable. End up getting cut. So I try to maximize having as many players in each of the tournaments, and then I focus on that's kind of what I do with the back half of my draft. So I love McIntyre, Cantlay, and Siwoo Kim. I'm gonna go ahead and go McIntyre on this one, my first pick, and then I think Toss up Cantlay, Siwoo Kim, Harry Hall, Sepp Straka. I don't really mind. I think they're all good. I'm gonna go Cantlay here. I think he's just slightly better than the other guys most of the time, even if he's not been playing like it generally better. So I'm gonna get him, but I like the other guys in this range. So my first thing I do with the Albatross is draft as many players that are in as many events as possible, and you accomplish that with your later round picks. What you accomplish with your top picks is the golfers who are actually good at certain courses. Hideki is a Masters champion. He's good at Augusta. You're going to want Hideki on your team, help you get out of your pod. You know, he's a good advanced piece. He's also good at the Open. And then there's guys like John Rahm, who is strong across the board and really, really strong at the Open. The list goes on. All of the top guys, some of the top guys have preferences, whether they're better at the US Open historically, or if they're better at the Open, or if they're more of a Augusta, course history is, with their strength. So that's what you kind of lean into with your early and middle picks. And then late, you're just making sure you're covering and lucking into a golfer that maybe gets a T5 or a T6 or like a top 10 finish at any of the majors, or even two of them, and then that's going to give you a ton of points. Okay, so here I kind of do want to go Hoey. Poston's I like Batia more though. Rasmus is interesting, but I'm not in love with that. I am going to go Batia first, and then Poston or Hoey. Hoey's good on approach, right? Hoey is good on approach. If he can get the putter figured out, this could be let's get ahead a little bit. Let's get Hoey here before he breaks out in a meaningful way. I think he's a fun click. Yeah. There's ways, because I've the winning teams in the past have not always had Scotty, but last year you would have had to have Scotty. Oh, love that. Getting JJ Spawn at the last pick and then he actually wins the US Open is incredible. The thing, and I'm getting excited talking about it, but yeah, JJ Spawn wins at Oakmont Country Club last year. That was his 5 finish at a major, his first top 10 finish at a major. He's only finished top 25 at a major 3 times. And 2 of them were last season. At least when I'm looking across the last 5 years of data. So Spawn is obviously a major winner, kind of catching lightning in a bottle. I think Spawn is a little bit overdrafted at his current ADP. I think there's about 10 or 15 other golfers that I would rather draft over JJ Spawn right now. So I'm expecting Spawn to fall maybe a round or two. Maybe people catch on and he falls more than that. Obviously, he's hot right now. He's winning last year and he's still fresh in our minds, but there are just guys who have much more course history, or I guess tournament history than him, and more consistent than him. So this time I do want to get Harmon. And who was another golfer, if I scroll down, that we liked in the model? Takumi Kanaya is kind of interesting. Michael Brennan, a little bit. Oh, Davis Riley. I'm going to get Davis Riley. So I'm going to do Brian Harmon and Davis Riley with my last 2 picks. Boom. The squad is McIntyre. We got Big Mac, Patrick Cantlay, Akshay Bhatia, Rico Hoey, if he can just figure out that new putter. Brian Harmon, I think it's Riley. Davis Riley, people forget. Tied for second last year at I think it was the PGA. Apparently, I forget. Davis Riley, he won the Charles Schwab when I was there. I searched PGA. Davis Schwab, I was there in person on Sunday. He was in the final pairing with Scotty Scheffler, but last year, yeah, he finished T2, tied for second at the PGA Championship. So he's kind of and he's currently qualified for 3 out of the 4 majors. Just needs to get into the US Open. He can probably do it on OWGR points the way things are trending with him and his start to the season. I mean, he already finished, he got a T6 at the Sony, and his putting, of course, was what did it. Approach play could have used some work, I guess. He got unlucky with a few of his putts on Sunday last week. All right, so that's the squad. Yeah, that's sick though to get it Jeff and to hit with JJ Spawn like that super late. Perfect. The worst ranking is Neiman. Yeah. He may only get into one major and he's going in the 20s. Makes no sense. It's because that's where he was going last year. And I'm pretty sure they just brought forward last year's ADP to some, which it's because last year Finau was like a top 15 pick. Yeah, Joaquin Neiman, he's currently only in one major, and I don't know. I guess the path it's confusing because I was confused about this last year too. There's some live exemptions. The top live golfer gets into the majors. So he was that golfer last year. It's just a question mark of their season has it's just starting. So I don't know what's going on with figuring that out. It's kind of hard to figure out. But Neiman right now, the opening day ADP was 22. He's currently the PGA Championship, and he essentially can't get into the Masters as far as I know. Does the Masters have the exemption for the live golfer? I'm not 100% sure. That's a pretty narrow window to get into. And then also for the US Open, the Open Championship, I don't know. He threaded the needle last season. Neiman got into these events, but then the funny part was Neiman skyrocketed in ADP last year, and he tanked all the. I drafted him above the field, I was overexposed to him, and he T29 at the Masters, T8 at the PGA, actually pretty good, but he gets cut at the US Open and cut at the Open, so he tanked all the teams where you drafted him at like 3rd overall or 2nd overall or 4th overall. Yeah, so Neiman is terribly ranked right now. He's one that stands out in my data as being clearly the worst pick on the board. Corey Connors goes one pick later. Should get into all 4 events. Already qualified for 3 of them. Almost certainly gets in the PGA Championship. Has in the last 5 years 10 top 25 finishes in majors, 5 top 10 finishes, and is pretty as well. Had a top 10 finish at the Open last year at Royal Portrush. Corey Connors is pretty solid. Pretty solid. Also had a top 8 at the Masters last year. So he put in a lot of work. He did WD from the US Open, but Corey Connors puts in a ton of work. We'll get into some more of this Albatross data. Let's go ahead and see if we can do. Let's try to get into. I kind of want to try to see if I can fill one of those par 3s. Boom. Let's do a par 3. Waiting on 3. Maybe we can fill it. I've only done like I think I only did one of these, and I wanted to do about 3 of them. Yeah, what's up, Andrew? How we doing, TD King? Neiman's gonna fall to the 60s in no time. He technically should. And Jeff, you probably know about this too, like the weird live exemption and how he ended up getting into the majors last year. He was flying up the boards last year because of that. And some people kind of anticipated it. I was kind of late to the game, and then I overcompensated and drafted him a ton in my last 50 drafts. I was drafting him in about 30% of my drafts for my last 40 or 50. And then he just kind of dudded out in the last 2 majors. So, hey, good to see my man. Let's fucking go. Yeah, Neiman should go way back. We got 28 seconds. I'll do a quick Albatross pop through all the names. I honestly think Jordan Spieth is undervalued. He's going to be rising. He's only qualified for 2 events, and he's on track to be qualified for 3. He's not currently in the US Open, but I think he can get there based on his world ranking, which is 79 right now. Should be rising. And you're going to want Spieth. The dude is a killer in the majors, even though he's kind of been a little off lately. We know the wrist injury is healed up and better, so let's have some faith in Jordan Spieth. If you're not a Jordan Spieth guy, that's fine. I get it. But you got to go with in the majors. There's like 3 things I think about that matter the most. The golfer who's most likely to win a major this coming season is a golfer who's already won a major. Major winners are more likely to win a major than non-major winners. So you're not likely to have a first-time winner. We had JJ Spawn last year. That was rare. The 3 other winners, Rory and Scotty. So go figure. Repeat winners is more common than just brand new winners. I also look at guys on their history playing in these majors. So even if they're not a winner, I want guys who have some record, if not a consistent record, of top 10 or top 25 finishes. Because you don't want guys who just consistently get cut, who miss the cut or finish, outside the top 40 or 50 at these majors. And there are a lot of veteran golfers on the PGA Tour who just never do well at the majors for whatever reason. Strength of the field, the pressure, I don't know what it is. For one of those guys to break through, kind of like Spawn did, I think is like the exception and not the rule. So I go for guys with course history. I go for guys who've already won majors. And then also what plays into that is just like, it's hard to know because the season just started, but guys who are getting hot, guys who are up and coming. But the big point of emphasis on that last point is guys who are already qualified for the events. So like Ryan Gerard, Jacob Bridgman, guys, you can scroll down in the list. They're getting drafted super late. There's a whole pocket of guys. Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson should get in all 4 events. Ryan Gerard should get in all 4. Michael Brennan should be in all 4. Christopher Wrighton should get in all 4 events. Bridgman should get in all 4. Who else? Valimaki should get in all 4 events. And these guys are going, getting drafted at the end of the draft or undrafted. And they're potentially these young up-and-comers who are doing pretty well and should play all of the events, which is what you want. So, okay, this time I'm going to get different. My last Scotty Scheffler team had Pendrith. This time I get access to Sepp Straka. Do I want Thor Bjornsson on this one? I kind of do. I like him. Let's see if we can get a good showing from Michael Thor Bjornsson. The 3 things: previous major winners, strong course or strong tournament history, strong performances at the majors, and then guys, they don't have that history, they don't have those performances at the majors, but they're up and coming, they're ascending, they're peaking in their production and where they're at in their career. They're getting wins on tour, Chris Gotterup, and they're already qualified for 2 or 3 of the events. And because of their world golf ranking, they should, or their money list position for the last X amount of tournaments. A lot of guys are getting in on money list, or they've won recently in the last 25 events or so, or in the last year, and so they're high up on the money list. They'll get into the majors, and so tracking guys who, it says they're only qualified for the Masters and the Open, but they're actually also easily going to get into the PGA and the US Open. And they're maybe they only have played 2, 3, 5 major events in their entire career, and they don't have a great history and nothing to show for it. But these are guys you want to be ahead of the curve. You'd rather be a year early than a year late. Guys like Ludwig, he finished second at the Masters. I think the first year Scotty won in or the second time Scotty won in 2024. And so, cat's out of the bag on guys like him. He didn't have a lot of history, but everyone knows he's good, and he gets drafted super high because of it. And people are just waiting on him to win a major. So that's kind of my take for the Albatross. Three big things to consider and drafting players. And the most important thing is like, are they qualified for the event when it comes to your later picks? I don't know how I'm gonna get off Batia. I feel like I'm drafting him a ton. I took him in each of my last two drafts. So let me get a little bit different here. I'll push him. I could do Pearson Cootie. I could do Nick Taylor again. Adam Scott again. Who else do we like in the model? I'm gonna end up going Cootie, and then I might do Lee Hodges. I might see if I can get him my last pick. Schmid was an interesting one. Schmid's even further. Let me go Lee Hodges, and then maybe do Schmid, or I could do Nick Dunlap. Jesper Svensson. Just throwing out some names here. Guys that popped in the model, guys that I like. Not Shipley. Hao Tung Lee. I was gonna highlight Hao Tung Lee, and he just went to this drafter. So that's a pretty smart pick. He should be in 3, if not 4 of the majors. He's a sneaky good pick. I think he's either 4th or I forget what he finished overall. Hao Tung Lee had a nice finish at the Open last year. So he's a guy that has done well in his career at the Open, which is a nice thing to focus on, considering that's how you win these best ball events. All the money's in the final round. Of course. You guys remember last year, Adam Schenk at this event at the American Express? I forget what day it was, but he hit one of his balls, one of his approach shots. I think it was a par 5. It was his second shot. He hit it into someone's cup. He hit it into someone's like cocktail on the course. A patron was walking around, and Adam Schenk hits this ball over the fairway. It's going into the rough. There's a dude standing there. I'm pretty sure it bounces off the dude's chest and lands in his like little cocktail. And then they're standing there for like 5 minutes waiting on a course ref or whatever, an ump, to come by and make a ruling. And the dude didn't take the ball out of the cup because they were just kind of waiting for the official call. And the dude's drinking his cocktail with Adam Schenk's ball in his cup, which was like hysterical. And just this old dude like doesn't give a fuck. But that was like the best moment I think from last year's. Ooh, let me do Matty Schmid. Boom. Scotty Scheffler, Sepp Straka, Michael Thorbjornsen, Pearson Cootie, Lee Hodges, Matty Schmid. I got some scroll down guys. There's a lot of hype on Pearson Cootie, but I don't know. I don't know if I should have taken Cootie there. I feel like I could have taken another guy like Harmon or Batia or something. Maybe even Jason Day. Jason Day doesn't play a whole lot of events, but sometimes can make the most of it when he does. What do I want to do here? This par 3, I'm going to do one more par 3. We were able to fill that one pretty quickly, and boom, snap fills. Jeff says he hates Brooks Koepka and JT's ADP. Yeah, so with JT, we don't even know if he's going to be playing in the Masters this year. If JT falls really late, I think I'll scoop up some. I'm going to be under the field exposure to Justin Thomas because I don't know what's going on with his back micro discectomy recovery and everything, and that's pretty scary stuff. And maybe he just takes it easy this year, so it's a huge bummer. We talked about it. I didn't draft him a single time during the scramble because he's already missing, half of the first 2 events, and that's just too much to miss in my mind. And then Koepka, I think Koepka's he's overdrafted. I think Koepka, he obviously gets access to all 4 of the majors. He was terrible last year. So Koepka right now, he started out his ADP 8 overall. I would like to see him going like 16 to 20. He was cut. He got 12th at Oakmont, and he was cut from the Open. His pretty bad showing. He's had kind of 2 straight years of bad showings at the majors. Nothing, not much to show for it. Okay, do we do Burns or Henley or Oberg. I'm gonna throw up an Oberg. I don't think I have one yet. And I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna throw an Oberg in there. Brooks has been a guy you have to win these things in the past, though. Um, and I guess you didn't have. I don't know if he was on my team. Let's check. I don't think he was on my team. No, I didn't have Koepka on my 5th place team. I had DeChambeau, Morikawa, Schauffele, Hideki, Rose, Henley, Burns, Siwoo Kim. I had a bunch of really good guys in 2024, but yeah. So when Brooks won the PGA in 2023, he also had a second at the Masters. So that gets it pretty far, but then 64th at the Open. He's not strong at the Open. He was back in 2021 at Royal St. George's Golf Club. He had a 6 overall finish, but yeah, I think Brooks' ADP, it just needs to keep falling a little bit. Hey, welcome to the club, my man, my main man, Sharpman. Thank you, Duff, for the support. Thanks, dog. Always good to see you. Okay, Harry Hall, Matt Fitzpatrick. Matt Fitzpatrick is just so good, though. I know Harry Hall fits really well here. Matt Fitzpatrick's a really good golfer. I'm gonna let it hit Harry Hall, but I want to pop over back to these stats. I want to find Fitzpatrick on here. Okay, good. He's not a great fit here. He's a solid putter. He's not amazing at his approach fit. So I'm glad that I did go with Hall. And then bummer, Fitzpatrick does get selected. I'm cool with going. Gerard's been hot. Harris English is a great golfer. I'm gonna go Harris English. Very underrated. Great golfer. Does well in the majors too. A incredible pick in the Albatross. Harris English. Shout out to Hartman. Thanks for becoming a member, a YouTube member. Appreciate that, my man. YouTube members get essentially the perks of, and Hartman remembers this in season because he's been helping me out with giving out advice too. But when it's in NFL season, I do like any sit start advice. Now it's PGA season. I'll give any kind of advice I can. I'll reference the data. I'll reference the models. So if you're a member of the channel, you pretty much get unlimited access to any advice that I can give or data that I can pull up or the things that I know related to PGA or NFL. And then thanks for the support. And he throws out the classic blue Lamborghini. Love it. Welcome to the Lamborghini Owners Club is actually the name. The Fantasy Football Garage. If you're a member here, you get your very own Lamborghini. You get 3 Lamborghinis to start. You get a white Lamborghini, a blue Lamborghini, and a yellow Lambo. You can spam them in the chat. So that's actually the best perk of all. Be the Lambo Club. Okay. So thanks again, Hartman, my man. Much appreciated. What was the second part of this? Oh yeah, JT being slow. Yeah, we talked about this. Jeff and I were talking about this. JT to a slow return as well when he gets back. We're kind of bummed by that. I love JT, so it's a bummer. Andrew says, how much do you value drafting good master players over some other guys and try to advance more at round 1? That's definitely a strategy. I want to be strong enough at the Masters. It's kind of a fine line. I want to be strong enough at the Masters, but I really focus on the Open because that's where all the money's won, right? And you still have to get to the Open, so you need to do well at the U.S. Open. And so it's tough. It is tough. The thing you can do is just draft a good mix of golfers who are consistently good at all of the majors, and then you can get maybe more selective with a few of your picks about like, okay, this guy's an Open specialist. Like, it could be some of these Englishmen, some of these Euro guys are better at the Open and they don't get drafted every time. You can scroll down and take a few of them and say, okay, they're not qualified for the Masters, but I've already got 10 guys in the Masters and maybe one or two guys on my team are going to be in two events, maybe three if they qualify for another one, but at least two events. And one of those is the Open. And there's some guys who have some strong course history at the Open that I was tracking a bunch of these guys last year. I think one of them was like Daniel Brown. Daniel Brown has had a pretty strong history at the Open, just like being able to get top 25 finishes. And so he's kind of a guy that could pop and do well there. So there's some guys who are better like links golfers I try to target. And then if we get really specific, we can go back through some of the course history, considering only Augusta, only the Masters stays at Augusta. For the PGA Championship, we're at Aeronomic Golf Club this year. And so we can look at like that course history, who's done well there. Then the US Open's at Shinnecock Hills, same thing. And then likewise for Royal Birkdale. Royal Birkdale was the last time they played there is when Jordan Spieth won the Open. So that's another reason why I'm pretty high on Jordan Spieth. He's going back to where he won. I don't know if that was his first major. I don't think it was. If anything, I think it was Spieth Open was, yeah, it was after the Masters already. I'm going to have to go back pretty far, but Spieth in 2015, what a year. And he no, not 2015. I meant the wrong one. 2017. Okay, I thought it was more recent than that. Spieth's 2017 Open when Matt Kuchar gets second. Hey, look, there's Haotong Li. Like I said, Haotong Li's kind of a Open specialist. He got third there in 2017 when Spieth got first at Royal Birkdale. And then let's fast forward to the future. Lowry, Cameron Smith, Brian Harman. Brian Harman's a big target for me. He's an Open specialist, a good links golfer. Last year, Scotty Scheffler, Harris English, perennially undervalued Harris English. Chris Gotterup, hey, ever heard of him? Great draft selection. Haotong Li gets fourth last year. So Haotong Li's a guy that I'm targeting in the Albatross. I want to get some of him. Brian Harman. I've always been a huge Brian Harman drafter in kind of all of the formats, but I think especially in the Albatross. Hey, perfect time. Let's get Brian Harman on this squad. Boom. All studs. Not a big scroll down team, but just get your guys. There's another Brian Harman. Matt Wallace is, I don't know what he's qualified for this year. I have to double check and look it up, but he's a guy who's historically done better at the Open. So there's just guys who are good at the Open, right? That's the whole point with focusing on that. Bridgman is qualified for all of the majors, started at like ADP 68, reached 20 picks for him yesterday. It was a great pick. Yeah, I think Bridgman is a great pick in this format. I don't have his current ADP because I'm only going to update the ADP like weekly or bi-weekly. But Bridgman, like you said, he's qualified for all of them. He's already qualified for 3 of the events. He's almost certainly going to be qualified for the PGA, just based on his current ranking and money list and all that stuff. And I think he's a good golfer. He's a good pick. Jacob Bridgman doesn't have any majors history though, but that's kind of the thing I was talking about. It's like, this is a guy you can get with your last pick or second to last pick or third to last pick, and he's going a little bit under the radar. Not having a course history though, you have to kind of get over that hurdle and just take some chances. Now that we have 12 draft spots versus we only had 10 last year and the year before, 12 draft spots really opens it up to taking some riskier picks or taking some specialists. Like I was saying, take a guy who's an Open specialist or take a golfer who's a veteran who has a really strong course history at Shinnecock Hills. All right. So I think, let's see, what have I done? I've only done 3 Underdog Opens. I did 1 putting green. I was trying to do more of those. I got the 3 par 3s in. I want to do like 2 more Underdog Opens before I get into Albatross. And we can do Albatross slows. We can definitely get some fast Albatross in. I'm gonna do like 2 more Underdog Opens at least, and I'll probably do another couple ones later tonight if I end up staying up a little bit later. Uh, I don't know if I'll get up early enough to actually have time to do them in the morning before I have to do my duties, but, I don't know, maybe it fills, maybe it doesn't fill. They made the tournament bigger this week, I wanna say. Last week, it was like 5,000 entrants. This year, it's 10 this week, it's 10,000, so if it gets close to 6,000, I think they're obviously is what you might expect, given where it filled early last week though too. So I mean, I would expect this by the time we wake up, it's going to be close to like 8,000. So it might overlay a little bit. That doesn't really change that much about it though. You still have to beat 8,000 people. So yeah, what's up, Anthony? Good to see you, brother. How do we get access to your stat and model sheets you were showing there? Perfect question. And what I actually forgot to allude into, um, I'm gonna go ahead and make this draft pick. I'm gonna go do Henley this time. I don't know. I'll just do Henley. Henley's a killer in his approach play, right? Go back to our course model, sort it by approach fit, and Henley's at the top of the list. Just a killer in his approach. So can Henley get hot here? Why not? Take a few of him, mix them in. So Andrew, great question. Also, what I'm going to do is any member to the YouTube channel, I'm going to share access to my Google Sheets. So the scramble's over. We had a pretty sick, scramble model and data that we were working with. My Albatross one, it's just you get tons of data like this to see like course history, and I'll be updating it weekly. I update ADP, Data Golf Rank, and official World Golf Ranking. I update those and then I trend them out over time. So like, boom, this will expand and it'll give you. Right now, I'm thinking I'm going to update it like every week so I can show weekly trends. But I don't know. I might end up updating it like twice a week, depending on how fast ADP changes. I think ADP is going to change pretty quick early on, but maybe it steadies out. We'll see. Last year, I was updating ADP very frequently, and it kind of got to be too much. So I was just like, once or twice a week is plenty, I think. But that's the plan. So what I'm going to do is any members to the channel, I will go ahead and happily share the Google Sheet with, and then they'll have a view only access, and then you just do a save as, and you can save it to your own Google Drive, and then you can continue, to have the link back to the one that I'm updating. And when I update it, you'll get the updates, or else you can just have your own little version. And then who do we want here? Another Thor Bjornsson. Am I going really hard on Thor Bjornsson this week? I might as well. Can I push him though? I think this room will take him. No, let me get a Gerard. I'd rather just get different and have more exposure to players. Let me get Ryan Gerard. I like him just fine. No idea particularly how he fits on his approach play, but we can find this out pretty quickly here. Instead of scrolling through that, we'll just go look at his. Yeah, his approach is strong. I thought it was. I was pretty confident in his last 25 starts. Yeah, stroke skate approach is usually his strength. His putting is kind of his weakness. So, And then Harris English, Poston, Batia, I think all great picks here. Nick Taylor, undervalued again, but I'm gonna go with Harris English. So yeah, if you're a member, if you got gifted a YouTube membership from Byron on the last stream, or if you're a current member, just hit me up, DM me on Twitter, or you can shoot me an email, fantasyfootballgarage@gmail.com if you don't have Twitter. And then I'll give you Google Sheet access. And then also, if you're a member, I just closed out of it because I had it open for so long, but the big board's dropping soon, and I'm going to share my sheet that I build for the big board with YouTube members as well. So if you're a YouTube member, you can get access to the golf data for the Albatross. You get access to the big board data for the NFL best ball drafts that are coming up, and actually all of the data that I'm going to crunch from 2025, looking at finishing positions that I did for running backs that I always cite and I always bring up on stream and talk about so much. My running back data, I'm in the process of doing it for quarterbacks, tight ends, and wide receivers, and so I'll make that available. I'll have my 2025 fantasy finishes database that I'll share in a Google Sheet with members, and I'll also have I'm gonna have like a tracking trending ADP and some stats that I'll bring in for the big board. I did it last year. I never shared it. I do it pretty much every year in some form or fashion. Last year's was pretty cool. Do I do Cootie? I mean, I do believe in Valimaki. We were talking him up. Can I get the swing on Bridgman? Boom, Bridgman in there. The last pick. We were talking him up so much. Made me want to pick him. That, and then also, let's look at Bridgman. He's kind of all over the place. I mean, we'd need a good performance from him. He's kind of more of a putting around the green, decent approach game. How did he do here last year? He's played so many events. You have to go back to 2025 just to see. He got cut here. No, we're at the American Express. He was a T21 here last year. That's not bad. And in 2024, T39. So that's respectable. I mean, he's in the field. It's fine. Jacob Bridgman. The team is Russell Henley, Patrick Cantlay, Ryan Gerard, Harris English, Akshay Bhatia. I'm glad he fell to me. I really wanted to get him and English. And then Jacob Bridgman. I think I'm going to do one more of these Underdog Opens before I get into Albatross stuff. So let me do that. At least one more. Get 5 of these drafts in. I did one earlier this week. Already forgot who I drafted in that. I took Jackson Suber actually in that pick. I'm going to scroll down again. I'm going to go like 4 or 5 studs and then 1 or 2 big scroll downs, and we'll flip back over and reference the model to find our scroll downs. And we're really going to focus on that approach play. Okay, sweet. Let's see. And does it get updated as the year goes on? Yeah, so I'm gonna yeah, I think I already answered that, but I'm gonna be updating the ADP official golf world ranking and data golf week for the world ranking only updates weekly. So does the data golf. It only updates weekly, but the ADP obviously updates every day. But I'll probably do the ADP twice a week, and I'll do the other 2 the once a week. Take a Sam Burns, another Ludwig. I feel like I've made a strong bet on Sam Burns with my one and done. Ludwig's just good all around. I might go Ludwig here. If I get last second view of his approach is very strong. Let's go Ludwig. And let's see what I can get at pick 10. I feel like it's a great week to either have the 1 or the 6, 7. 5, 8's not bad either, depending on what would fall. Yeah, ADP doesn't matter unless you're drafting guys who aren't in the majors. It matters then. Always good to see you, Anthony. Thanks for being here, dog. Hell yeah, Hartman. Yeah, Hartman. I'll shoot you. Well, actually, I'm sure I've had your email in the past, and I could find it. Twitter DM me your whatever email you would want to have access to the Google Sheet, and I'll add you as a viewer to the Google Sheet tonight. And I won't dox you, bro. Yo, what's up, Tyler? How we doing, my man? Hope you had a great stream. Can't wait to check it out later. I'm always pumped to get a new Toxic Tower stream in the queue. So, oh, dude, look at that! Almost drafted Sam Burns, 3 overall. He makes it to pick 10. This is my lucky draft. So we're going Ludwig. We're going Sam Burns. It came at the right time, Emo. Hope you're doing well, my man. Get ready for a chilly weekend. We have that. You guys all across the U.S. have this coming, but the freeze this weekend. So I'm buying some gasoline for the generator. I'm gonna be covering up all the pipes, winterizing, draining the sprinklers. I guess. I guess I don't. Maybe I think I already did that actually before Christmas, but the wife's bought about 1,000 bottles of water. She keeps trying to buy more stuff on Amazon to prep for the winter storm that's coming, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, Hartman, Twitter DM me your preferred email to get access to the Google Sheet, and I'll add you to it, brother. Okay. Pendrith, English, Poston, Batia, Hoey. I don't mind Berger. I don't mind Gerard. I think I'm gonna go Pendrith here. Poston's come up a lot. People have been talking up Poston. I feel like if I go back to, I'm gonna throw in a Poston, throw in a Postman. That was one of the names that was popping on Greg Ducharme's list. I'm gonna go back to my Twitter, and when I scroll down to Greg, I retweeted Greg's thread earlier this week. The names that he was calling out, it was Ben Griffin, of course, Sam Burns, Harry Hall, Siwoo Kim, JT Poston. And then there was an article today on the PGA Tour website about 5 players to watch. No. Which one was it? It was about the American Express. Oh, best bets, fantasy picks, or was it like scroll downs? Yeah, this is the one. Best bets, fantasy picks, expert picks for the American Express, and Ryan Gerard pops up. No, it was a different article actually. Michael Thorbjornsen shows up. Matt Fitzpatrick. Did Fitzpatrick win earlier, right? Or is he still available? I feel like he's getting undervalued. Yeah, he goes 10. Oh, here it is. Sleeper picks at the American Express is the article on PGAtour.com. Sweet, we get Batia too here. Is nice. I've got a lot of Batia this week then. Okay, here's the sleeper picks. Lee Hodges is a sleeper pick. We drafted him. S.H. Kim is a sleeper pick. Tom Hoagie. So I'm gonna scroll down. I've already gotten a Lee Hodges. Maybe do it again. But Hodges, we can throw in there for a late scroll down pick. Hoagie, I think, is a nice pick. Right? And then Kim, S.H. Kim. All right, 2 picks left. Who's still available up top, though? Jason Day. What's Jason Day's history here? He probably won this event at some point. Yeah, I got third last year. Boom. Get a Jason Day. He finished third here last year. He doesn't play a whole lot of events. He can pack a punch when he does. We know he's good, but he's just not playing too much these days. Jason Day is another guy that's kind of sneaky good for the Albatross too. He's currently pick ADP like around 38. The problem is he's only qualified for the Masters and the PGA. Wild that, former PGA champion a decade ago, but not currently qualified for that many of the majors. in his world ranking 62. It's pretty high, so he could, in theory, be in a position to get in. When was the last time he didn't play one of these majors though? He almost always has played. Yeah, like I can't think of a year. 2020 he didn't play in something. 2021 he didn't play in the US Open. So every once in a while he misses a major, but Jason Day's pretty underrated. Former major champion. Okay, we got Lee Hodges. Do I go Hoagie or Kim? Kim had a nice finish at the Sony, which makes me kind of want to go with SH Kim and kind of trail that. Versus Hoagie, I don't think he even played the Sony, did he? And he's been kind of on a streak. He did play the Sony. He got tied for 40th. I couldn't remember if he was in it or not, but I went ahead and threw in SH Kim on the back end of this one. Ludwig, Sam Burns, JT Poston, Akshay Bhatia, Jason Day, and SH Kim. It's going to be the last Underdog Open I do on stream. We're switching over to the Albatross content. All right. The Albatross on Underdog. It's a 2026 majors only PGA best ball contest with $50,000 to first. This year, $30,000, 30,000 entrants, 400,000 in prizes, $15 entry, 50K to first place. Like I said, last year it was a 50,000 person entrant. So in the final last year was, I think, 300 seat final, around that. So a little bit smaller this year. It's a 1-6, 1-5, 1-5 advance, and then a 200 person final. If you make the finals, $500, not so bad. A top 10 will get you 5,000. If you get fifth place, you get 10,000, and so on. Pretty nice payout. It, I wish maybe it was a little bit bigger. Maybe it was back to like the 50,000 size, but I think the 1 out of 5, 1 out of 5. Last year it was, I'm almost certain it was 1-6, 1-6, 1-6. So 1-5, 1-5. To me, it doesn't change too much. Planning for the Masters, planning for Augusta, you have to advance out of your pod. There's 6 drafters, and you're going to have to get first. So you expect to advance about a sixth of your teams. You'd want to be higher than that. But the thing you really need to plan for is doing well. Of course, you have the PGA, 1 out of 5 advance, so a slightly better chance of advancing. And practically every golfer is qualified for the PGA, it feels like. Like everyone plays in the PGA, it seems. So I wouldn't worry too much about that one. It's the Open, is the finals. The US Open is the semifinals. And you have to do very well there, because also think about this. In your first pod, some drafters are going to draft okay teams. Maybe a half of your pod will be sharp. When it regroups into the second round, it's going to be all of the sharps who advanced, and some guys that get lucky, but the 1 out of 5 advance is actually much harder than it seems. So even though it's 1 out of 5 versus 1 out of 6, I still think it's equally as hard to advance in the quarterfinals. The semifinals being at the US Open, that matters a lot. So I do want some guys who have good course history. And this year, the US Open is going to be played at Shinnecock Hills Golf Course. The PGA is at Aeronomic Golf Club, of course, Masters at Augusta, and then the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale Golf Club, where 2017 is the last time they played it. And one Jordan Spieth won the Open, took the claret jug. So right now, it's only about a 1% filled tournament. We've got plenty of time. It closes the week before or leading up to the Masters, so that's going to be April 10th. Or I guess it's actually that morning. April 9th is that Thursday morning of the Masters. So April 9th it will close, and that's the gist of it. It's a super fun format, a super fun tournament. I've had a lot of success in it over the years. It's one of my favorite best ball tournaments, contests to get into. And hey, look, I've got a bunch of slow drafts going. So I'm going to walk through some of my slow drafts, talk about some of these early and mid-round picks that I'm getting into with some of these clocks at the different times that I'm at, different teams that I've already built. And then we'll do some fast drafts. And I'm also going to talk about, I keep going back to my model, but I will uh, show you guys a little bit more about that in detail and some depth as we make these picks. Oh, no way. Yeah, crazy overlay last year. You know what? I feel like I don't even remember that happening because what got me last year was the scramble snap filled from the scramble was going to overlay last year. And on like the day or two after Christmas, like it was like, I remember it was like the 28th or 29th, um, before New Year's, the scramble like went from like 80% filled to filling in like 24 hours. It was so fast. People were just mass entering it, overlay hunting. It didn't actually overlay. The Albatross, I don't remember it overlaying that bad last year, but it must have because they shrunk the tournament size. So it only makes sense. I mean, last year there was the Albatross, the little Albatross, the big Albatross. There's always been a few different sizes to it over the years. That's crazy though. All right, so this team I currently have, it's a John Rahm, who I think is current. I mean, when this draft started, I don't know if it's currently still that way, but 6 in ADP. I think John Rahm's a top 3 golfer in this format, maybe 4. You could argue it's obviously Scotty Scheffler and Rory. It has to be. But you could argue John Rahm over Rory if you really want to get into it. Talk about the future, not the past year we just had. You could argue Xander at 2 or 3, and then Rahm. I think Fleetwood is the guy that's a little out of place right now. I think honestly Fleetwood should be closer to the 5-6, 6-7 turn than John Rahm. Ludwig, I took him at pick 8, ADP of 5. I think is a nice pick, getting him where I got him, but I would not take him ahead of John Rahm either. Cam Young, I think, is a really, really nice pick. I'm going to take a lot of Cam Young. I've always loved Cam Young in this format. A guy that I'm looking to get his first major, but like Ludwig, but like kind of knocking on the door. Tyrrell Hatton is a little underrated in this format as well. He's been pretty consistent in the majors over the years. And then Jordan Spieth, who I've talked about, keep talking about. I'm gonna have a lot of Jordan Spieth. So getting into this next pick, in the 5th round, I'll flip over to my data here. So what we've got, this is Scotty Scheffler, ADP at 1 right here. Data golf rank of 1 right there. Official world golf ranking of 1 right there. He's already in all 4 majors. That's what this signifies. You can see the dark name here is Joaquin Niemann. He's only in 1 major currently, so he's lower. Hideki, he's showing up as a 3.1. So what I do is, if you're guaranteed to be in a major, you get a point, a 1.0. If you're qualified for the major, but you're not guaranteed to be in it yet, I mean, he's going to stay qualified, so it's essentially like we know he's in. You kind of have to know these things and figure it out. But for the PGA Championship, Hideki Matsuyama is not guaranteed to be in the field, but he is currently on track to be qualified, and he will be there. So he gets a 0.1 in my math, so I get 3.1. So 3.1 means he's in all 4 events. He's just not technically fully qualified for all 4. So that's kind of how I do things in this. So I can keep track of who's actually qualified, who should be qualified, who's gaining or losing qualifications. I also have the number of majors they've already won. Scotty Scheffler's won 4, Rory's won 5, Brooks has won 5. Is why Brooks is still, his ADP is really high, is because he's a 5-time major winner. Fleetwood, I think, is a little bit overvalued right now. He's never won a major. And he hasn't actually won any PGA Tour events except for the Tour Championship last year. We had a field of 30 guys. And so there are golfers much further down this list who have won PGA Tour events with harder fields, with tougher fields than any field that Tommy Fleetwood's ever won on the PGA Tour. Fleetwood does have a pretty decent majors history, but never won a major, so he's a 0 there. Same thing with Ludwig, but Ludwig's newer. Fleetwood's kind of already in his peak. This is the Masters, right? So Y signifies you're fully qualified. A Z would be on a path to qualification or should be qualified. If it's blank, they're not qualified. I've got 25, 24, 23, 22, and 21 results. So over the last 5 years, the Masters, Fleetwood was 21st, 3rd, 33rd, 14th, and 46th. Honestly, not bad. He's got some good history at the majors. I also have this for the PGA and all the different courses they played, whether it was Quail Hollow, Valhalla, Oak Hill, Southern Hills, Kiowa Island. We've got the US Open the exact same way. We also show where they get cut. I'm highlighting in dark blue if they had a top 5 finish, in light blue a top 10 finish, and in green if they won that major. So you see a lot of green on here, a lot of blue as well. The white text is to signify they were top 25. It's orange if they were 26 or later. The red cuts, and then there's also some no contest or blank if they did not make the event or they didn't play the event or they couldn't have played the event because they weren't on the tour yet. We have that much history here. At the Open, I've also got the same exact setup. So you can see that Fleetwood does actually decently well at the Open. He's got 2 top 10s in the last 5 years. Then I have this column here. It's our overall, how many top 25s, top 10s, and top 5s do these golfers have within the last 5 years at these majors? So, and then I have a conditional formatting on the top 10s to highlight guys who have the most top 10s, which I think is probably the most directionally important. Scotty Scheffler has 18 top 25s in the last 20 majors he's played. Think about that. He's only been 20 majors he could have been in. He's been in the top 25 in 18 of them. So only twice did he not finish in the top 25. One of those was a cut at Southern Hills back in 2022, and one of those was a 41st at Pinehurst. 15 out of those 20, he's had a top 15, or sorry, a top 10. So 3/4 of the time he's finishing top 10. So this is why Scotty is in the Albatross, literally worth so much more than any other golfer. It's not even debatable. It's not even close. If you're ever in an Albatross draft and you get the Scotty Scheffler at the 102 or somebody else does, that is just a big no-no. And very lucky if you do. Scotty Scheffler has finished top 5 at 8 of the last 20 majors he's played in. He's won 4 of them. He also has 4 other top 5 finishes where he didn't win. Literally insane. And not only is Scotty great at all of the majors, he's had top 5s in all of them, the only one he hasn't won is the US Open, where he's finished 2nd and 3rd. I also have highlighted here just the Open, because all that matters is week 17. All that matters is winning at the Open. So I want to know which golfers are the best at the Open, because maybe they're not so good elsewhere, but if they're good at the Open, they're worth drafting, and especially if they're qualified, right, to play there. So top 25s, top 10s, top 5s at the Open. Scotty Scheffler's always been top 25 at the Open. That's incredible. 3 of his 5 last Open tournaments, he's been in the top 10, and he's won it once. He's been in the top 5 once. So that's the data that I'm showing here. That's what I'm looking at. If you want to get access to all of this data, and I update this weekly with new ADPs, new world official world golf rankings, and updated data golf rankings. And then if anything changes with status, I have that in here too. So I'm updating the status on a weekly basis. If you want access to all of this, all you have to do is become a member of the Fantasy Football Garage YouTube channel, like Hartman, like Coolers, like many others. And also you'll get all the cool emotes in the chat, the Lamborghinis. You'll be official Lamborghini owner. That's what we call it here. So just a little PSA. But thanks for being here, and don't feel pressure that you have to become a member or ever donate to the channel. The support is always appreciated, but never required. And I just appreciate y'all being here in the chat, saying what up. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you sub. That's all great. Without further ado, let's get into this Albatross draft and hit up some questions. So let me start here. Peter Malnati is not number one on my rankings. The spreadsheet is malarkey. So that's also true. Um, if you want to get like Jeff, you want to draft a lot of Peter Malnati, put you in a good spot there. It's a little inside joke because I don't think Peter Malnati is going to be qualified for any majors anytime soon. But he does play with a yellow golf ball, so that's something. Which event was it that he won? Now I have to look it up because we're getting into the Malnati lore. Peter Malnati, he's almost 500th in the world. He's not qualified for any majors. He's been cut from every major he's ever played at. But in 2023, was it 20? It was 2024. He won the Valspar in 2024. I was gonna say Valspar, but I didn't want to because it sounded like it was too obvious. I guess I could have seen it up here. Peter Malnati, the most unlikely person, he wins the Valspar, which is a pretty decent field. At age 37. It's funny. Two-time winner on the PGA Tour. But okay, look at this. So the Valspar is a 10.46 in strength of field for that win. Let's look at Fleetwood's win last year. His first win was at the Tour Championship, only a 12.58. So not really, but here's the thing. Okay, I give him some credit. Fleetwood's had two runners up, although both of these are in the these are in the previous decade. They're not really that recent. He got more points for getting second at the US Open in 2018 and second at the Open Championship in 2019 than he got for winning the Tour Championship last year. That just gives you some idea of the Tour Championship's not really that impressive. We could look at Henley. Russell Henley is an incredible pick for the Albatross. I love Russell Henley in the Albatross. He's going pick 11 right now or around there. I think he should be going just as high as Fleetwood. Arguably very close to Fleetwood. Russell Henley's a 5-time PGA winner. He's won the Arnold Palmer Invitational last year, 17.68 points, relative scoring. He's won the Cognizant, aka the former Honda Classic, which was worth more points. He's won the Shell Houston Open, now the Texas Children Houston Open, worth just as many points as that Fleetwood victory. And I guess he's never technically had a runner-up at the Opens, at the majors, that's a point for Fleetwood, but he's had two T5s, one at the Masters, one at the Open, so he's qualified for all of them, except, it says he's not actually qualified for the PGA yet, but he will be. He's a top 5 player in the world by golf ranking, so that's just kind of funny business that he's not already qualified. I don't know. In my tracker, I have him as already qualified, but I'm not sure why that is 100% exactly. We're getting some discrepancies in the way that they're showing things, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. He's top 10 golfer in the world. He is qualified for every major. So Russell Henley's a guy that I love. I'll be drafting a lot of Henley. I'll take Henley over Brooks Koepka. Most likely. I think Matsuyama is a good argument as someone that should go in that tier. Cantlay should be in that tier. Hovland should be in that tier. I take all those guys over Sam Burns. So I think Fleetwood is closer to the Cantlay, Henley, Hovland tier than he is the Schauffele, Rahm, DeChambeau tier. Ludwig is the only one I'll make the exception for that hasn't already won a major that potentially you could draft ahead of a Matsuyama or maybe a DeChambeau. If we look at this draft, I took Ludwig at 8. Where did DeChambeau go? DeChambeau was pick 4. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't have done it. I would take DeChambeau at 8 over Oberg, but he kind of fell to me there. So I went Rahm and then Oberg, Fleetwood, Cantlay. Lowry is a great pick. Lowry is a very good pick in the Albatross. So is Matt Fitzpatrick, Hovland. You could argue about Lowry being as good of a pick as Tommy Fleetwood, I think. Fleetwood's playing maybe better in the current moment, but Lowry's a former Open champion. He's won a major. and he didn't have great results last year. Last year was a big down year for Lowry, but he's had good results um, overall, and his results are very. He's won, so that's already better than Fleetwood's, but otherwise, without the win, pretty comparable to Fleetwood's. So I think Lowry's a good value. Gives a little bit undervalued there. All right, my picks here. Who's available? I could do. I've kind of queued it up this way. I think I need to fade Wyndham Clark a little bit more. I think Wyndham Clark's. I've got him too high. Cam Smith's not playing great right now. I want to look up Siwoo Kim. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'll go ahead and look up Siwoo Kim, Cam Smith, Wyndham Clark. So we're scrolling down a bit. Siwoo Kim never won a major, but he did win the Players back in the day. He's going to be qualified for all of the majors. He didn't play the Masters last year, and he doesn't have any really good history at the Masters recently, that is. Had an 8th at the PGA. Doesn't traditionally do well at the US Open, which is a very tough field. Okay at the Open. He's been cut from it twice in the last 3 years, so I'm gonna move Siwoo Kim down in my rankings a little bit. He's a little underwhelming, but we're kind of in the middle of the draft here, so we're starting to get to guys who need to prove it, or guys who aren't fully qualified, like Jason Day. Nick Taylor, he's tough. He doesn't do great at majors. He's a good golfer. He doesn't do great at majors. That's just but what it's been. Can he break that mold? He's been winning on the PGA Tour every season for the last 3 years. Wyndham Clark, on the other hand, he literally won the US Open, but tough. He finished 4th at the Open last year. That was his best finish there ever, clearly. He's playing all right now. He's 49th in the world, 74th overall by Data Golf rankings, which kind of scores based on, strokes gained and the strength of the field. Maybe I go Wyndham Clark, but him over Siwoo Kim. Neither one of them is that good at Augusta. And so if I'm drafting Wyndham Clark, I'm getting him for, the fact that he's a major winner in the last 3 years and can be bouncing back a little bit. Didn't have a great season last year. Nick Taylor, we're trying to get a guy who's peaking in his career, but not traditionally done that well at the majors, at least in the last 5 years. He's been playing him for longer than that. I don't think Batia was available. Alex Noren, kind of interesting. He'd done well, 2 top 25s at the PGA. At the Open, he's got 2 top 25s, but didn't actually play in the Open last year. He's 13th in the world right now and 17th in the Data Golf ranking. So he's kind of like hitting a resurgence in his career right now. Alex Noren's had some nice finishes though. I think I'm going to look up Noren again because I know I'm pretty sure he's finished pretty high in a major before. I'll scroll down. He is 43. That's another thing to consider. So yeah, back in 2017, it was that one with Spieth at Royal Birkdale, which is where they're playing this year. He had a T6, also had a T9. I mean, he's much young. This is almost 10 years ago. So hard to completely go off that. He does he's a Euro. He plays on the DP World Tour a lot. He's playing on the PGA Tour this year. He's the highest he's been in his World Golf ranking in like the last almost decade. So he's kind of having a little bit of a resurgent year. Good putter. He's a veteran. He's playing on the PGA Tour this year, playing a bunch. He's got some good history at the Open. He might be one to think about. Patrick Reed's interesting. Patrick Reed is technically already qualified for every event. He's another live golfer who is a former Masters champion. He's exceptionally good at Augusta, finishing 3rd, 12th, 4th, 35th, and 8th over the last 5 years. He also won at Augusta. I want to say that was 2017. If we go to Reed, he's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind guy because he's on the Live Tour. He won 2018 Masters. I mean, and he's just a killer. He's won a bunch of events in his career. Really, really strong fields. Another 2025, like I just said, he's third in the Masters. So Patrick Reed is a really nice advance piece to get out of the first round. And now that we have 12 draft spots, I think I'm going to bump Patrick Reed up even more. He's technically qualified already for the other majors. Maybe that changes. His world golf ranking's pretty high. His money, he's pretty high on the money list. So I think that helps too. 23rd at the US Open's not bad. He doesn't have a great history at the Open, or for some reason he's just okay at the PGA. Is Zalatoris worth a last round flyer, says YouTube member Hartman. So I'll scroll down to Zalatoris. My quick answer is no, but we need to know why. And also kind of yes, if he can bounce back. So I've seen Zalatoris in here. I don't know if he has an ADP right now. There he is. So he's in blue because if they're green, they've won a major. If they're blue, they're not qualified for 2 or more events. If they're gold, they're qualified for like 2 or 3 events. If they're white, if they're white text, they're qualified for all 4 of the events. It's kind of my color coding there. Zalatoris, he's not currently qualified for any major, so he's almost certainly, it's impossible for him to get into the Masters unless there's some kind of special last minute exemption. He has a great course history at the Masters. He has a pretty good course history at these, or tournament history in these majors. He's finished. So last year he was cut, but before that, 9th withdrawal. That was the injury year. 6th and 2nd. So Zalatoris has a great history at Augusta. Before his injury in was that 2023, he had a 2nd at the PGA, an 8th at the PGA, a 2nd at the US Open. Never particularly that good at the Open. But Will Zalatoris was like the guy before his back injury in 2023. So he hadn't really been the same since coming back. We can pop over and look at Zalatoris here. He's not currently qualified for any of the majors, is why I wouldn't draft him. And I don't know what it's going to take to get him qualified. He is playing on the PGA Tour this year. He is in 25 round moving average, top 10 golfers. He's had some stretches where he's been good, right? He's going to be in a lot of events this year. In 2025, he didn't play a whole lot, and he didn't have any top 10s. 2024 was better for him. Didn't do great at the majors. He did have he did fine at the Nedbank Golf Challenge in South Africa. He got a 15th there. His major history though looks so good, but it's tough to know. With his world ranking, he needs to like win the American Express this week to jump up and to get he has to win something before the Masters to get into it, or he has to like perform so well that he jumps up in world ranking to like a top, I think, 50 player to get to the Masters. I don't think that's possible from 246 with only so many events to go. So I'm not sure. He's a guy to keep an eye on though. If things change for him and he starts to perform really well and move up the world golf ranking or win a tournament, he's a guy that will get into the majors. So that's another caveat. If anyone wins, if any player who's not already in the majors wins an event on the PGA Tour this year, they're gonna get in to all of the majors. Except for, I think, some of the alternate field events. Here's Chris Goddard. I think he's a stud. We want to be drafting him a bunch. He's super expensive right now, though. He's going ahead of Colin Morikawa, which I think is in some ways good, in some ways bad. Like, I don't know if you really should be drafting Chris Goddard up ahead of Spieth, Morikawa, Brian Harmon, Penn Griffin even, but maybe. I have to wrap my head around that. Chris Goddard he's on a hot streak right now, and he did really well at the Open last year, but he has, like, hardly any major history. But he is the guy right now, so it's interesting. I kinda talked myself into Alex Noren. One last check on Alex Noren here. Yeah, I like what he's up to. I think Alex Noren, for me, it's either him. I also saw Maverick McNeely, Harry Hall, Rye. Harry Hall doesn't have a lot of history, but he's been playing pretty well. McNeely has been okay. He still kind of doesn't have a lot of major history. Rye is okay. He hasn't been great at majors. He's played in them a few times. What about Pendrith? Pendrith was already drafted, I'm almost certain. Look at the board. Yeah, Pendrith gone. Pendrith not gone? Is Pendrith available? That's another name to consider. Yeah, Taylor Pendrith. I have him queued up. He's right there. He's 45th in ADP. That's kind of interesting. That's why I wasn't seeing him yet. What's up with Taylor Pendrith? Because he's only technically qualified for 2, but he's on track to be qualified for all of them. He has terrible history at the Open. That's why. So you're kind of tanking your chances at the Open there with him. He's not good at Augusta. Had a 5th overall finish at the PGA last year, and he's got a couple okay finishes at the US Open. So that's why Pendrith goes so late. But I mean, I guess it's just maybe Taylor Pendrith is a little bit overvalued right now in other formats. Top 50 golfer in the world, top 6 in FedEx Cup points, kind of in the prime of his career. Doesn't have any huge wins. He won the CJ Cup 2 years ago. T6 at the Sony. Huh. Interesting. Oh, yeah, and then so technically Taylor Pendrith is not qualified for the Masters, but he's top 50, so he will qualify for it, and I don't think he's gonna fall out of the top 50 by the time of the Masters, but if he does, I'll update that, but that's contingent on him staying top 50. Interesting. I guess I'm going with Noren. Batia was one that I might like to click, and he was drafted, was the name that was gone. Yeah, he went the pick before me. Same thing with Harmon. I would take Harmon or Batia maybe over Noren. We go Noren here on this one. So I spent a lot of time making that pick because I don't really have that many slow drafts that have gotten to this point in the draft. I've done 2 fast Albatross, and then that's the furthest I've gone on my slows. My other slows here are earlier in the draft. So I had to kind of think through the middle of the draft and what I'm getting myself into. These picks will go much faster, and then we'll do some fast Albatross drafts on stream. Jeff says Patrick Reed will be in the first 2 majors. If he finishes high, he'll be in the last 2 as well. I like Patrick Reed. I'd bet on him at Augusta. Hell yeah. Very sharp. Patrick Reed in this format is super valuable. I've come to learn that over the years. I've not always been the biggest Patrick Reed fan for whatever reason, but he's really good. He just happens to be on live. But he's been playing enough on the DP World Tour to get the official golf world ranking points to sustain getting access to the majors. And then Hartman says, that makes sense. I saw he had the injury and was a lot better this year, but didn't realize he was such a dog to qualify. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but he could do it. We all hope and want Zalatoris to come back. Okay. I took Xander Schauffele here. So what I'm going to do is when I have the 4th pick, I'm gonna coin flip. If Jon Rahm and Schauffele are both there at the 4, I'm gonna coin flip and take one of them because I honestly go Scheffler, and then my tier is one tier with McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, and Jon Rahm, all in the same tier. I think they're a little bit ahead of DeChambeau for me. And then I wouldn't take Koepka this high. Hovland, I think, is a pretty cool pick. That's a pretty savvy pick. Hovland's a nice pick in this format. He's kind of in the same tier as Fleetwood for me. And then who's getting super uh Matt Fitzpatrick is just not he should be going way higher. He is not getting any love. Matt Fitzpatrick is incredibly good for this format. Former US Open, winner, and he does well at the Open. Although last year it was his first year he'd done well in a while there. He had a 4th overall finish. Before that, not so good. He does well at Augusta, and he does great at the PGA. I mean, besides the 2 cuts in the middle there, he's got an 8th and a 5th. So Matt Fitzpatrick to me should be going in the top 20, almost certainly. And right now he's for some reason behind Corey Connors, behind Neiman, behind Sepp Straka, behind Lowry. I think you could make an argument that he goes ahead of Lowry, English, maybe even Hatton, McIntyre. I think McIntyre is a fun click in this format, kind of like Cam Young, kind of like yeah. So I haven't done my official tiers yet, but now that I have all my data together here, I'm working on my official tiers, which is going to be I guess I'll have my tiers and then I'll rank the player the highest in the tier based off what they are in ADP just to make it kind of match ADP a little bit more. But I'm gonna have like you'll be able to access my tiered rankings as well, and I'm gonna keep referencing that in the future. I need like 1 or 2 more days to put my tiers together for this. I've already got it mentally, looking through it, but it's really starting to come together because there's just obvious things like I cannot take Fleetwood ahead of Jon Rahm and Xander and maybe even DeChambeau. Uh, Same thing with Koepka, but so I think in these early drafts, I'm just kind of drafting a little bit my preference, and then some of them I'm like randomly just taking guys at ADP because I do want to capture a little bit of what the opportunity is right now that you might not be able to get in the future. So like if things change a lot and it just becomes hard to get a combination later. But at the same time, you can be drafting a guy in the first round who falls a round or 2, and that always hurts. It's not the end of the day. There's 12 draft spots in this, though. So in this one, I started off with Xander, and then my second pick, it's like, do I take Oberg, Hideki, Cantlay, Henley, or McIntyre? I think Spawn should get moved down a little bit. I think Fitzpatrick is probably worth more than Spawn. See, Fitzpatrick's already flown up the board. He is going ADP 20. I'm probably going to update ADP tomorrow, given it's changed so much since the opening of the tournament. I'll just add up the most recent ADP, but Fitzpatrick's already risen a whole round. Like I said, where he should be. Morikawa is still good in this format. I think Morikawa should move up. Ben Griffin's already moved up. Neiman's already falling. Spieth is moving up. Do I want Ludwig? Probably. Hideki is really nice, though, too, in this format. Ludwig has done great in his last 2 years at Augusta that he's been qualified. Doesn't do great at the PGA. Okay at the US Open. Okay at the Open. And we kind of bet on his ascending talent. Hideki's in his prime, though. Maybe he's just out of it. But I feel like he's a guy that could win at the Open or win the US Open. He's already won a Masters. He could win a PGA. Like he could win any of these events. He's that good. So for me, Oberg and Hideki, I think I'm going to end up taking Oberg here just because of the ADP and where I can get Oberg, and it's might be easier to get more Hideki. There's a chance because my next pick's at 16 for some reason. Nah, Hideki won't be there, but a lot of these other guys I like might be there too. I'm gonna go Xander Oberg on that one. This one I did take. So this one I started off John Rahm, and then I did take Hideki Hatton with pick 16. Fitzpatrick was already gone at 14. So I took Hatton over Burns, and Spawn was kind of my selection here. Who's still available? I love Shane Lowry. I think if we go to the draft, you can see my queue. I've got English, Connors, and Lowry. Let me double check that. Ben Griffin is a guy, and Chris Goddard's a guy we can't forget, though, too. I'm going to compare Lowry, English, and Connors. So the difference here is Lowry has won the Open back in 2019, third of the Masters in 2022, a sixth and a fourth at the PGA, and a sixth recently at the Open. In the last 5 years, he's got 12 in the top 25, 12 out of 20, four in the top 10, two in the top five. At the Open, he has three in the top 25 and one in the top 10. Shane Lowry had kind of a down year last year, and he still is just, I think, a little undervalued. English never won, but had a runner up last year at the PGA and a runner up at the Open. So Harris English had a hot year last year. That is you do want to chase that. English has always been pretty good in this format. He technically before his second at the Open wasn't so great there in that tournament and across those courses, but Royal Portrush, something clicked. He was the runner up to Scotty. I think you can justify because of English's career. You can justify taking him ahead of Lowry. I think it's close. He's top 11 in the world right now. He's top 21 by Data Golf rankings, and five-time PGA Tour winner. He's got some nice wins on there. Some good finishes at all these majors. His majors history, if you scroll down here on Data Golf, his majors history is just like littered with top 10s, top 5s. And it's all in the last 5 years, really. So you can make a great case for Harris English. The other guy I was looking at was, of course, Corey Connors. Never won a major. Is qualified for all four of them. He's on pace to be qualified for the PGA, but he will be. He is great at Augusta. He has 3 top 10s at Augusta in the last 5 years. So he's a nice advanced piece. He's got a top 10 at the US Open. He also withdrew from the US Open last year. Another top 10 at the Open. And so Corey Connors, I think you can make a pretty good argument for him in that same tier with Harris English and Shane Lowry. Slight advantage maybe to English because of his double runner-up last year. It's a pretty good spot to be in. He's not bad at Augusta either. Shane Lowry, he's had 2 bad years at Augusta the last 2 years, but before that, 16, 13, 21 finishes. This is tough. This is a really solid tier right here, and my next pick's not for a while, so I'm only gonna get one of these guys because I have Rahm, who's great at the Masters, great at the Open, Hideki, who's great at the Masters, Hatton is kind of good all around. Um, the only one he's not particularly that good at was the PGA, but he's been really decent everywhere else. And even the PGA is not too bad with his 2 top 15s, technically top 25 finishes. So I feel like based on the strength of the guys I have at Augusta, I don't need to preference Augusta so much with this next pick. I could do English, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Him or Connors. It's tough. And then, obviously Justin Rose is there. Rose had a runner-up last year at Augusta behind Rory. They had the playoff hole classic, instant classic finish. He's just always so good at the PGA. Got cut last year, but otherwise really good. Not so good at the US Open for some reason. Had a runner-up at Royal Troon 2 years ago at the Open. So he's got some pretty, I mean, he's also in this tier. It's just taking a guy who's, and Rose is great. He's kind of ageless, but he's kind of a little bit past his prime, but he's still golfing. He's still out there, killing it. And I don't know. This is tough. Justin Rose was on my team, one of my best Albatross teams back in 2024. It helped having Rose. He got second at the Open, so that gave me a lot of points. Also had a nice sixth at the PGA, despite getting cut at Augusta that year, and then coming back last year and following that up with getting second, almost winning the whole thing. So go figure. So Rosie, hard to ignore. I think I do want to keep taking some Rose, and I hadn't queued him up, but Justin Rose, also pretty undeniable, and a former major winner. If I'm not mistaken, just a one-time US Open in 2013. Incredible. But still kind of has it and still has been performing well. Just an all-around good golfer. Do I want to go with some of the unproven younger guys, or do I want to take Justin Rose here in this format? I think I do Rose. I'd like to get him later. I'm getting him at pick 21. His ADP is 18. I mean, that's about where he should go. I'm gonna go Rose and then just hope that one of any of these guys falls to my next pick, and I think I should be able to get one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. So this is exactly 6 golfers that I would want to take. Maybe one of them still available. That was tough though. I mean, easily could have gone English, Connors, or Lowry. Reach up for Spieth or Ben Griffin. We're starting to make a case for Goddard as a close to top 20 pick. But I think you got to take some of these other guys who have more course history than Goddard right now. We haven't seen Goddard in a whole lot of majors, but when we did see him at the Open last year, pretty good. Really good. 3rd overall finish. This one here is another slow Albatross that I'm in. Only John Rahm so far. And what did I do? I just took John Rahm like I said I would. Right up there. Oberg goes. He's probably a nice pick in this range, but I like Hideki just as much. So let's go Hideki. Easy. This is a small Albatross. I'll do a few small Albatross. Sprinkle them in. And I don't know if I'll max it, but I like to sprinkle some in just to have a few more drafts going, and the whole time box, or not time box, but like the whole timing of the year concept about like, I don't want to just do all my Albatrosses in the first week that it opens, but if I'm going to do some smalls, I want to have some smalls that I did during opening week 2. And the small will close. Sometimes they do the small Albatross too, but the small will close faster than the big one generally. Okay, this is an interesting pick at 10. I could do Hovland or Cantlay. I like Hovland. I like Cantlay. Henley, even McIntyre. Fitzpatrick, I like. If I can get Fitzpatrick with my next pick, or Cam Young, Hatton, we start to get back into this range. So Victor Hovland, he is just one of those golfers that plays up to the level of competition generally, and he does well in the majors. 3rd last year at Oakmont. He's got a 4th at St. Andrews, a 3rd at Valhalla, and a 2nd at Oak Hill. He has a 7th in a top 10 in his Masters experience, and just I think he's on the verge of winning a major as well. Hovland right now, I want to say, because he did win last year. He won the Valspar last year. 2025 Valspar winner. How nice of him to follow up Peter Malnati. Previously won the Tour Championship. He's won the Memorial Tournament, which is a pretty big tournament to win. And then his T2 at the PGA, which we were talking about. That was at Oak Hill. Pretty tough place to play. So Hovland just has what it takes. He can just contend with these guys. Do I want him, though, or Cantlay, or even Henley, or even McIntyre? So Cantlay, strong history at majors, third at Pinehurst, a notoriously tough place to play. He's okay at Augusta. He's been pretty decent at the PGA Championship. He's been okay here and there at the Open. I think I like Hovland a little better than Cantlay. Cantlay's been a guy that was in the same conversation as Xander Schauffele a few years ago before Xander won 2 majors in 2024. So he's got potential to do something like that. He just really hasn't gotten across the line. Henley is very strong in this format, and people are starting to figure it out. He was on my team in 2024 that finished 5th overall. He has a 4th at Augusta that year, a 10th at Oakmont last year, and a 7th at Pinehurst. Those 2 U.S. Open finishes, the last 2 he's had. A 10th at Royal Portrush, a 5th at Royal Troon, his last 2 Open tournaments he's played in. So this guy he's a late season sweeper. I mean, the way he performs at the U.S. Open and the Open Championship, it's hard to deny. It's hard to deny that. I might go Henley now. I'm kind of talking myself into Henley. I think he just, and we look at Sam Burns, not too shabby either at the U.S. Open, but struggles at Augusta, struggles at the Open. So that's why Sam Burns is a little bit further down. Yeah, I've always really liked Russell Henley. Do I go ahead and take Henley over Hovland? Hovland right now, top 15 in the world, top 15 data golf, won on tour last season. Henley also won on tour last season at the Travelers, 5-time PGA Tour winner. Also, he's got we already reviewed this, but an Arnold Palmer Invitational victory, a very tough place to win at. It was actually 2nd at the Travelers last year. Keegan Bradley won the Travelers last year. It was the 1st at the Arnold Palmer that I was thinking of. I think, Henley is he's peaking right now. He really is in his career. He's ready to win a major. If you can win at the API, you can, and you've had a bunch of runners up, not even runner up, but just T5s, T10s at these majors. Henley can get it done. That's my tier right there. It's like Henry, Hovland, Cantlay, even McIntyre I'll throw in. McIntyre doesn't have as much history as these other guys. He's been playing a lot of these major tournaments the last 5 years, but he doesn't always play. He was runner-up last year at Oakmont, finished 7th at Royal Portrush. So any given day now, McIntyre could be getting his first major win. But this is a category with Cantlay, Hovland, Henley, and McIntyre, and even Cam Young, and then maybe to a lesser extent, if it's the back of a tier, I think I actually throw Sam Burns into the next tier with like English, and I might move Hatton. I have to think about that. Either Hatton's up with McIntyre and Cam Young and Hovland, or it's, I think probably Hatton and Burns are the start of the English tier, Corey Connors tier. Ben Griffin got her up. Shane Lowry and Spawn, I have to think about how I treat them. Rose, Spawn, and Shane Lowry. Even though Spawn's already won one, I probably still keep him in that tier with the other guys who haven't won one yet, like Cam Young and McIntyre. For Shane Lowry, I probably keep him in that tier as well. Like I was talking about earlier, Sepp Straka might be able to get in that tier. He did have a runner-up at Royal Liverpool in 2023, which was really nice, but he hadn't done much since then. He had a 7th overall at Oak Hill the same year. So Sep had a nice 2023 at his major tournaments. So yeah, really though, like Cantlay, Henley, Hovland, Oberg, and Fleetwood are more similar than they are not, and really should be in a tier together, I think. And I kind of separate out the major winners ahead of them, except for maybe Brooks Koepka, who's really kind of fallen off the last 2 years to some extent. And whether that's just him being apathetic to playing a little bit or whatever. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab. For me, it's like a current. It's currently it's like a. And then Fitzpatrick has won a major, so he's in this. He's in probably the top of uh that next tier. He still has some pretty nice recent performances. Don't want to forget about him. I probably have him ahead of Keegan Bradley, almost certainly. Yeah, Fitzpatrick is not so different than the whole group of guys I just mentioned, which is crazy. You can get him so much later, and he's definitely going to be rising a ton. I'm going to go Henley here, but easily could take Hovland or Cantlay. You could make an argument even for Matt Fitzpatrick. And that's my little albatross that was going. I'm going to jump in the lobby now. Let's do a fast draft in the albatross. 30 seconds per pick. Good luck. If we can fill it, obviously. So we're waiting on one. Looks like we will be able to fill it pretty quickly, which is nice. And I'm going to scroll down and it's waiting to start. So here we go. I'm going to scroll down and show you some of my favorite picks later on. So guys who are already qualified for all the events. Ryan Fox doesn't have a great majors history, but he is qualified. Minwoo Lee is on track to be qualified for all the events. He had a 5th overall at a U.S. Open in the past, so he's had some good run. Patrick Reed is a priority click for me. Kitayama has had some nice appearances over his career. Doesn't always get to play in the majors, but he's currently on track to be in them, all 4 of them this year. Billy Horschel had a runner-up at the Open 2 years ago. Doesn't always get to play in all the majors. He probably won't be at the Masters. Shouldn't be at the Masters this year, but likely to play all the other 3. Outside of that, Rasmus Højgaard is a very nice pick. He probably will play at every single major this year. Never had like a truly outstanding finish, but he's a guy to watch for sure. I'm 1 pick away, so I have the 102 here. Obviously Scheffler goes. I will go ahead and take Rory. More scroll down picks. Daniel Berger's okay. Novak's okay. Don't love either one of those. Sungjae M is a really good scroll down pick. Probably the best scroll down pick in this range after Patrick Reed. I don't know why Sungjae M is so low. He's already qualified for 3 of the majors. He will get into the PGA Championship. He had a 5th place finish at the Masters, an 8th finish at the Masters a few years ago. He's finished 7th at the Open in the last 5 years. So that's interesting. Tom Kim, one of the worst picks on the board. He's not qualified for any of the majors, and he probably won't make any of them. But he was a 1st and 2nd round Albatross draft pick as early as 2024. That drafting season, which is crazy. He really just fell off. Tom Kim, where are you? So Hideki, and then I'm going to mix it up. So this is my tier here. Hideki goes. I might go. Okay, Hovland goes. Mix it easy. I will go Cantlay this time. And then see who falls between Henley, McIntyre, Cam Young, Matt Fitzpatrick, English, Rose. This is where I start to throw in Spawn, Burns, Hatton. Connors, and then Sepp. Colin, who's been playing terribly, but it's like I probably do take Ben Griffin and maybe even Chris Goddard up ahead of Colin Morikawa the way he's been playing lately. Morikawa got cut at the Sony. He's just not having a good time. Hindley's there. That's pretty sweet. So I go Rory, Cantlay, Hindley. We look at Colin Morikawa, though. He's a two-time major champion. And, in the last 5 years, out of his 20 majors, he's been in the top 25 14 times. He won the Open in 2021. Before that, he'd already won the US Open, if I'm not mistaken. But recently, it's been cuts, a 23rd, a 50th, a 14th. He's very good at Augusta, so that is redeeming. He's also had a top five, the PGA, two top fives at the US Open, and he's won the Open. So Colin Morikawa, for whatever it's worth, even though he's playing pretty terrible lately for himself, he's still, I think. Sorry, it wasn't a US Open. Did I say US Open? I meant PGA. It was a PGA in 2020 that Colin Morikawa won. He's also won 4 times on the tour. Other than that, his history in the majors, though, is exceptionally good. It's one of the best. Pound for pound, start for start, Colin Morikawa is one of the best major tournament golfers in currently active. Um, Obviously, there's guys who have more wins than him, like Scotty and Rory, even Brooks, but Morikawa is, I think, still super undervalued. He goes right before my pick in this one, so that's kind of funny how much I was talking him up, and then he goes. I probably do take Lowry ahead of Connors. Well, it's tough. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I went ahead and just let it take Lowry, even though Lowry had a really bad season last year. He does well in the majors. He has also a pretty good profile in the majors. He's won the Open. That counts for a lot. And Corey Connors is still there and might have been the guy I took there anyways. Goddard up and Straka went in between. I got to figure out how to get some Goddard up exposure, but it's going to be expensive. This is going to cost a lot to get Goddard up on a squad. Harmon is a great pick. Spieth is a great pick. Batia is fun. Cam Smith's a former uh, Open championship champion and qualified for all 4 majors. He won the Open in 2022. Didn't do great last year. Cut from all 4 majors. So some of the live guys, they're kind of resting on their laurels, they're kind of riding their past life on the PGA Tour. It's interesting. Let's see. Coming back to me, pick 35, pick 38. I like Harmon a lot. Cam Smith is fine. He should definitely do better going forward. Harry Hall is interesting. McNeely's interesting. Rye's okay. Adam Scott is probably a good pick. Former Masters champion. Adam Scott. Last year cut, 19th, 12th cut. He's had better years than that. It's been up and down the last 5 years. McNeely doesn't have a ton of course history, but should be in every event. Same thing with Harry Hall. Let's see Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim seems like he's having a good season. Cam Smith is still there. I will take Cam Smith ahead of these guys, given that he's already won a major, and he's in all 4 events, of course, because of that qualification. I don't think Cam Smith's playing a whole lot these days, but the dude was the talk of the town back in 2022 on the Players and the Open. So Can he just get back to what he's up to? I actually did. He got second at the Crown Australian Open. That's not terrible, but still, Cam Smith is still young. He can still get it done. This is interesting. Harry Hall. Do I go Jason Day? I go to my history on Jason Day, former Open champion. Day's kind of nice in these events. Do I want to go Harry Hall though? I've got a lot of good history at Augusta, so I'm tempted to take Hall there, who might be someone that can surprise at the Open or do well at the PGA as well. Before I forget, I need to get Patrick Reed. Oh, damn. Literally, as I said it, I should have taken Patrick Reed ahead of Harry Hall. That's the mistake I just made. That one was a mistake. Sung J M's already jumped up 20 spots in ADP. He's clearly a good pick. Probably a better pick than Adam Scott at this rate. Almost certainly. Sung J M's a good pick. Rasmus Højgaard's becoming a good pick in this range. I don't know. They hadn't gone yet. Minwoo is interesting. Pendrith, we learned, had a pretty bad history here. What age range usually is a golfer's prime? It's hard to say. It's been changing. It's been changing. I don't have certain golfers get into a prime at different parts in their career. Sometimes their prime can be their late 20s, early 30s. Sometimes it's their early mid 20s, which is rare. Adam Scott, or do I want to go? Adam Scott is definitely past his prime, but still a really good golfer. I can throw in an Adam Scott. Adam Scott can surprise. Some golfers get into their prime in like their late 30s, early 40s. So it's hard to exactly say on that front, Hartman, but it's kind of case by case and person by person. But you can kind of follow like their career trend, and it didn't work for a guy who's on the live golf. But if you look at like, I don't want to do Tiger because it's too far back to go Tiger, but let's look at Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim is 30, and he's kind of been in his prime for like, he's been a pro for like forever. He went pro when he was, I think, 17 or something or whatever it was. So he's kind of still in his prime, still ascending slowly, and he's 30. So it's a good spot to be in. I took Rasmus Højgaard. I'm cool with that pick. I actually did want him there. Gerard went. Pingay went. Marco Pinge. Hey, Fantasy Dog, my man. Boom. With the $5 dono. Thank you so much, Fantasy Dog. Hope you're doing great, brother. Hey, we got some golf content on the stream tonight. I know you're out there watching. Fantasy Dog, have you played out at La Quinta? Have you played out at the Pete Dye Stadium course? Have you been out there in Palm Desert? Who do you like? Who you liking this week? I got to know. I got to know. So good to see my man. Appreciate the dono. Thanks for being here. Who do you like at the American Express? And have you played out there? I bet you have. Maybe. Have you? Have you been out to Palm Desert? There's a million golf courses out there. But I'm interested to know. So we're drafting the Albatross right now. It's the majors only PGA best ball and underdog. One of my favorite formats. It's like obviously NFL best ball, number one in my heart. But I've had the most success in best ball in my contest on the Albatross, and it's my second favorite by far. It's so fun. Just draft the best golfers, try to win majors, sweat it out 4 days at a time, 4 times a year. No, sir. I don't know, sir. Like Bryson. Bryson is live. Oops. Yeah, we can draft live golfers. I just took a Cameron Smith on this one. We can draft some live golfers because they do play in the majors, of course. Bridgman, I don't think Glover gets much. Kiefer and Wrighton are interesting. So I'm going to look up Bridgman real quick. Didn't have much history, but he's in all of the events. I'll let a Bridgman hit. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should do it for a Wrighton, Nearguard Peterson. Sung J M was already gone. I could do a Kiefer. Boom. Johnny Kiefer, come on down. Kiefer, currently not in any of the majors. So that was probably a terrible pick. I don't know why I thought that was a good pick for a second there, but I picked him. I think he'll probably play into some. He is a rookie on the tour, so we need him to win or no. Maybe I got a bad lookup or something. Kiefer's, I knew he was in some. Kiefer could be in all of them. Something's going on with my lookup. I got to fix it. Because that's not correct. Kiefer must not be in the data that I pulled. Something's fishy there. I'll figure it out. But do I want to go with Brennan? I knew Kiefer was in a lot of stuff. Brennan's gone. I could do Bridgman. I could do Reeton. I'll do Bridgman. Who are the scroll downs that I really like? Sam Stevens is kind of interesting. Oh, I missed Haotong Lee. I forgot to go for Haotong Lee. He's the scroll down that I wanted. I missed Haotong Lee. I missed Reed. Patrick Reed. I missed him. What's going on with my Kiefer lookup? Something's fishy with the way I've got Kiefer right now. It's not pulling in his ranks, and it's not pulling in his data for his qualifications, but I need to fix that one. That is interesting that it's not showing up. Valimaki is another one that I like. Sammy. I like Sammy Valimaki. I'll throw him in first. And then let me look up Sam Stevens. There it is. Sam Stevens not qualified for a whole lot. So I don't know why I thought he was qualified for more. Could always do Horschel. Oh, Davis Riley. Davis Riley's kind of a sneaky one. He's qualified for 2 and should be qualified for more. He had a runner-up at the PGA last year. I do think Davis Riley's a sneaky pick. If Sammy's not there, I'll get some Davis Riley. I'm not afraid. Sammy or Davis Riley. Either way, totally happy with that. And then I need to figure out what the hell's going on with Kiefer. Adrian Sadier, the Frenchman. He's currently qualified for everything but the Masters. Kind of interesting. Not a lot of course history, tournament history, or on the clock. Valimaki, Davis Riley. Let's go Valimaki. I will sprinkle in Davis Riley, though. I think he needs to be drafted. And he's going undrafted, as you can see. So I got to figure out what's up with the Kiefer stuff. On Grazerman, Grazerman was a pick that I liked last year. He's still, top 33 in the world, top 60 in data golf. He's only qualified right now for the Masters, technically, but he is in all 4 of the events. He should be in all 4 of the events. So he is technically a guy that I think, where did he go in this one? Because I had him in my corner of my eye for a bit. He's a guy that I want to draft as well. I don't want to have none. Young up-and-comer. Doesn't have a ton of history. Done pretty well at the USO, but that's a good sign. 2 top 25 finishes. the last 2 US Opens, those are really hard tournaments to do well in. So Grazerman's a guy. I think Grazerman, the hell is going on with like Johnny Kiefer? Oh, are they calling him John Kiefer versus Johnny Kiefer? Found it. I found the problem with the lookup. Underdog calls him John Kiefer. Everyone else calls him Johnny. So I'll need to just crosswalk Johnny to John. I thought I had fixed all the names. There's a lot of funky names in here. Samuel Stevens, Sam Stevens, Cameron Davis, Cam Davis, Hoygaard, but they have the little funny O for the Hoygaard. Both of them for the Twins. I got to fix the Johnny Kiefer. I knew there's something wrong. I was like, Johnny Kiefer's in all the events. He's a top 50 player in the world as a rookie on the tour. He didn't do great at the Sony. I was hoping he'd do better than that. So we still need to see. And he's in the field for the American Express. I like Johnny Kiefer. He's a big up and comer. Going to be a star, I think. All right, let's see. I'll fix that after. We'll keep drafting. We'll do another draft, another Albatross draft, and then we'll fix the Johnny Kiefer. Maybe I can fix it as we fly this plane. Grazerman needs to be drafted. I was going to pull up Grazerman. Boom. So this is Grazerman's profile. He's technically in all the majors, and I think he will be. He doesn't have any professional wins on the PGA Tour. Didn't win on the Corn Ferry either, apparently, or any tours. So he's a loser. He's not a winner, but no, I think he's pretty good. He's had a lot of runner-ups. Runner-up at the Rocket last year, runner-up at the Bay Current, and he's done decent at the US Open. So Grazerman's good. 2024, he had a hot streak. He T10 at the Texas Children's, had a second at the 3M, a second at the Wyndham, a second at the Zozo Championship, a fourth at the Worldwide Technology Championship towards the end of the season. So going into 2025, Grazerman was on a hype train, and he didn't disappoint so much, but he's definitely come down a little bit. At one point, he was like a top 20 guy, which is pretty incredible. He's probably still a top 60 guy, and so I think he's definitely worth drafting, but doesn't have any big wins to show for. It's kind of a thing, and he doesn't have so much course history for being a 30-year-old guy on the tour. Some guys start on the tour when they're 20, some 30. You never know. So there's kind of different timelines. Could Kiefer stuff a lot of his like stats and things, and a lot of like the reason why he has his rankings is from Corn Ferry, but it's kind of already factored in. Fantasy Dog's home course used to 10 years ago host USGA qualifiers. That's nice. A 2.4 or lower handicap. Jeez. Incredible. Yes, ASAP with the clutch information. We did know this. I think you said this like a week ago, or people were saying it. I don't know if it's been a full week yet, but I screenshotted that and added it to my note for all the PGA news on my phone. That's probably why you're right that he's going so late. That's a good thing to remember, because we don't know what the hell is going on with his wrist and when Sungjae M is going to come back and play. So this is good. I think he might be a wait and see guy. I don't think he's worth taking an overexposed amount of right now at his current ADP, because it's so depressed. Because of the injury risk. We'll get more information as the season goes on. If he comes back, starts to play events, does some, top 10s, top 25s, we'll feel pretty good. And then it's full steam ahead. But ADP is not a crazy factor in this tournament. So I think even if you're waiting till later to get more news, is probably the smartest thing to do. So I would say be definitely underexposed to Sungjae M right now. Imagine we get news after a week or two that he has a surgery or take some time off or whatever, re-aggravates it. Bad news can escalate quickly. Fantasy dog, almost in an albatross. Very nice. Clearly, I've never had an albatross in my golf career. Never had a hole in one. Um, Honestly, I can't remember if I've ever eagled. I'd be lying if I said I remembered scoring an eagle, so I might not have done it yet. But there's a chance I've done it in my home course when I was a kid. I played a lot of golf when I was in high school and stuff, middle school, high school, just growing up, and then I play less now than I did back then. But definitely not hit any eagles lately. I wonder. I don't know. I'd really think about that. No, I don't think I've never had an eagle on a par 4, that's for sure. I'm trying to think of all the par 5s. Fantasy dog, I know this for a fact. You could fix my short game in an hour, I'm sure. My around the green. I've been working on it though. Fantasy dog, I don't know if I'd mentioned to you, my home course now currently is Memorial Park, where they play the Texas Children's Houston Open. So I go to Memorial Park almost every weekend to go putt and chip. They're renovating the driving range right now, but I go drive there, and then I'll play there occasionally. I mostly play 18 in Austin when I'm with my family. My father-in-law has a membership to Georgetown Country Club. It's a little small neighborhood, sweet hill country golf course out there in the central Texas, but we I play with him a lot. So I'm getting most of my rounds in on 18 there. I'm doing most of my practice over at Memorial. And then I have a little chipping and putting set up in my backyard that me and my daughter will mess around with when the weather's nice. We get out there. We're out there for a while this weekend. I probably hit 100 balls, just trying to work on my short game, little chip shots out there. But yes, I have no doubts, fantasy dog. If you caddied for me, I would break 90 and I might even break 85. Might even. Okay, we're going Xander here because people are sleeping on the two-time major champion Xander Schauffele. Yes, his is a very nice little country club. It's like a little neighborhood course, and it's just there's a lot of natural beauty. The first hole you tee off, the elevation change, it must be 100 feet to the hole, like the pin. It's like you're driving straight up a hill. It's kind of funny. Okay, here I'm gonna sprinkle in Hovland this time. I think even over Brooks. I think I'm gonna push to see if Brooks' ADP continues to fall, and I still draft some Brooks, but I'm gonna get some Hovland there. And yeah, they have a nice little country club, and there's only so many members, but it's a smaller neighborhood too. And I feel like he's retired, so he practically lives there, literally. It's always a lot of fun. But beautiful. There's it's cliffside. It's on the San Gabriel River, so there's a river that goes through the golf course, and there's this like carve like these. There's literally cliffs in the hill country with like very steep drop offs. It's pretty incredible the terrain there. It's difficult. It's a pretty difficult. I don't know what like the course plays like the handicap. I don't have it memorized like that, but it's a pretty difficult course. And if you go OB, there's cactus. There's like I said, cliffs that you can hit a ball off a cliff and just never get to it. There's little valleys in between some of the holes. So it's a fun one. A lot of water. The river that goes along it, and there's creeks and stuff. There's a lot of water hazards. No lakes, but just all these little rivers and creeks. Very fun. Great to get out there. I don't know when I'll be out there playing next. We're in for some terrible weather this weekend, so almost certainly not going to be practicing outdoors this weekend. The big freeze that's sweeping across the southeast United States coming up. Okay, Sam Burns. I already know I don't want him ahead of Cam Young or Hatton or Spawn, probably even Rose, Lowry, English, Connors, Morikawa, Griffin. I have to get Goddard at some point. Can't forget Reed this time. I do love Cam Young, though. Let me go with Cameron Young. Cameron Young has just so many solid finishes in the majors in his career. And so just bet on that. And he's really strong at the Open, too. So out of his last, and he hasn't even played 20 majors in the last, 5 years. I guess he's played quick math minus one, two, three. He's played 17. 6 out of 17 top 10 finishes is a very nice pace to be at. Spawn, on the other hand, he won the US Open last year at Oakmont, but that was his only top 10 finish in a major in the last 5 years, and he hadn't played a lot of the majors in the last 5 years. He hadn't qualified to hardly any of them. So, all right, we got Justin Rose here at pick 18, or do we go with someone like a Ben Griffin or a Goddard or Connors English? Rosie has still got it. I mean, he is still playing at a high level. I'm gonna go Rose. But this next grouping, there's a lot of guys in here I like. I got to throw Reed in here before I forget, because I'm gonna forget, and he's still gonna be going higher than his ADP. Let's see, and then I got to remember to kind of change up some of these middle round picks. Take a risk on a guy like a Rye, some Aaron Rye. I don't know about Michael Kim. This is not really the right format for Michael Kim. What's so funny is like the scramble, Michael Kim's a first round pick, 1-2 turn pick. The Albatross, he's, in the 40s, 50s, and even there, I don't really want to draft him. All right, I took Cam Smith last time. I will go Brian Harmon this time. I feel like Nick Taylor is just always pretty disappointing in the majors. So I probably need to factor that in a little bit. Move up day, a couple spots. And like I said, Aaron Rye's not too bad. Jason Day has had some up and down years at majors recently. Still, I think he's a guy that can put up points at both Augusta and the Open and everywhere in between. The problem with Day, he's not currently scheduled to be in the Open. I need to remember that. He's not currently scheduled to be in the Open or the PGA. No, or the US Open or the Open. I think he'll qualify for them, but I don't want to be drafting him too much this early. He's top 62 in the world, so I want to say top 70 in the world get into the US Open and top 60 in the world get into the Open at Royal Birkdale. At least that's what it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. Those were the cutoffs. I'm pretty sure. Everyone gets into the PGA. It's like top 100. I'm gonna risk it. I think I can take Keegan Bradley or Akshay here. I'm gonna go Keegan. Maybe I should go Akshay. I've got some guys who are strong at the Open: Harmon, Rose, Young, Hovland, Shoffley. I can afford to take a guy like Keegan, who might not have been performing so well at the Open in recent years. More of a PGA, US Open kind of guy. It's been a long time since Keegan Bradley won his major, his PGA championship, over a decade ago. But he's been playing pretty decent lately. He won the Travelers last year, pretty decent tournament too. Pretty strong field. Second time he'd won the Travelers in the last 3 years. So I just need to remember that about Day. Day is not automatically qualified for all of the majors this year. He's in 2 of them, and he's not necessarily on track to get into the other 2 based on money leader and based on, world ranking. He's kind of borderline, so that's a little bit scary. That you could get a guy who's not only not qualified for some of the, majors, but the 2 that are at the end of the season that count for the most, getting you to the finals and being in the finals, and who's you just never know. Sometimes having a golfer who God, Patrick Reed goes right before my pick. That's really depressing. I need to get more Patrick Reed, and I don't know how I'm gonna force it in, but it has been tough to get him tonight. Huge bummer. I'll take Matt McNeely though. He doesn't have a ton of good course history and tournament history in these majors, but he's a good golfer. He's starting to play a little bit better. We need to see Matt McNeely get some wins. He's another guy that his only win was at the RSM. He can do better than that. He had a runner up at the Genesis last year. It was pretty nice. Ludwig won that one. Are you any good out of the sand, my friend? I'm not bad. I'm not bad. I've never had a big issue getting out of the sand. I think I've got a little bit lucky. I generally am always pleasantly surprised on my sand saves and getting out and being able to keep the ball uh and not running it past the hole. So do I want to go Adam Scott here or do I want to limit my exposure to him? I'm gonna go Rasmus. Again, I might end up with too much Rasmus right now at this point in the year. Scott is in 2. He should qualify for the PGA. He might qualify for the US Open. Adam Scott, 68th in the world, so you just don't know for sure. What was it? Kitayama. Minwoo Lee should get in all of the majors. I'm pretty certain, although he's only technically qualified for the Masters. Kurt Kitayama is qualified for the Masters and the PGA, but should get into the Open and should get into the US Open. Kitayama, surprisingly, I want to say he's had some nice finishes. T4 at the PGA. I guess that's it. Just that one. No, I'm thinking of someone else. Either way, Kitayama goes. I'm going to skip Adam Scott. Well, I wasn't going to take him this time. I'm going to scroll down to some guys who don't have as much course history, but are in a lot of these events. Rasmus Niergaard Peterson stands out. Brennan. Oh, Hao-Tung Lee. Let's get Lee. Boom. Valimaki. Hao-Tung Lee is a great pick here this late in the draft. Horschel's not bad. Bridgman's kind of a, in case I have no one else that I want to select that comes up. Let me search for Brennan. Has Brennan already gone? Brennan's available. Kiefer again. Kiefer's unproven. Bezadenhout. I think Bezadenhout doesn't have a lot of eligibility, which kind of sucks. I mentioned Ryan Fox. I want to get guys who are a little bit underdrafted. Davis Riley. Maybe even Patrick Rogers, although he's not going to be in the Masters. And he doesn't have any good majors history. Davis Riley, before I forget, I do like him. So I'm gonna do Brennan here. Do I want to do Brennan? I might get some Grazerman too. It's tough for young guys to do really well. I don't know if I've taken Brennan yet. I'll get one Brennan. It's really hard for these young up and coming guys, these kind of like future stars to do well. But if he's the next, Cam Young or Ludwig, if he's something on the tour, can say the same thing about John Kiefer. Johnny Kiefer, he's in a grouping with Scotty Scheffler and Sung J M is I think it's like the number one on the Corn Ferry Tour. Something else. I forget what it is. Rookie of the year or something. They talked all about it last week at the Sony. They had a little infographic about it. Fantasy dog, the part of my game I gotta fix is my off the tee. I am slicing right now. I'm swinging inside to outside. I'm slicing the ball to the right, and I gotta fix it. I'm not reliable enough hitting fairways off the tee. Gotta fix that. Irons are good. Fairway woods are surprisingly good. Putting can always get better. Short game around the green needs to get better, but I could save myself 5 to 8 strokes around if I can improve off the tee because I'm losing balls OB, I'm losing balls in the water, and then I'm hitting the ball far as hell, but then I'm putting myself in a bad spot. If it's a dog leg left and I'm on the right side of the course, and then, you're in a rough and a bad lie on a hill, ball above the feet, chunk my second shot, that kind of thing. That's where I'm struggling right now. Okay, I'm going to throw in who do I want? What is Horschel qualified for again? 3 of the events, not the Masters. Am I good for the Masters with the guys that I have? I don't know. I'm gonna get Davis Riley first and then come back to that thought. If Horschel's not in the Masters, I think I do want another guy who's a killer at the Masters. I didn't get Patrick Reed. Who's good at the Masters? Sung J M is, but he might not play with his wrist. Homa, but he's only qualified for the Masters, which sucks. Zalatoris, but also not qualified for the Masters. Phil Mickelson, I don't think he's gonna play. Is Phil gonna play all the majors this year? I have not been drafting Phil for a while now. Aldrich Potgieter's interesting. I might just go Kiefer again. Brennan and Kiefer on a team. It's kind of much. It's a little bit much. Poston hasn't been drafted, but Poston's not in shit. Fox is gone. Oh, Grazerman. Boom. And Grazerman is already in the field at the Masters. Perfect. Let's go. I like this squad. If you don't get Scotty Scheffler, you're gonna want someone else who can get it done. And imagine Xander wins a major, Hovland wins his first major, Cam Young wins his first major. Wow. Rose can have some runners up. Harmon can have some nice finishes. Who knows with Keegan Bradley? And these guys can surprise, have some top tens somewhere along the road. Oh my. All over the course, fantasy dog. Yeah. Distance is not the problem. I need to take some distance off of my drives. If it's gonna help me, if I can slow down a little bit, fix my hand positioning a little bit, my swing path a little bit. Got to close that club face. I'm keeping it open, so I'm working on it. It's tough though. My driving range is under construction at Memorial, so not hitting any drives right now. Just working on a lot of short game. Fun squad. Thanks again to Fantasy Dog and Hartman for the donos tonight, for the membership. Hartman, I'm going to hook you up with access to the Google Sheet. I'll do that right after I finish the stream. We did it. We drafted some Albatrosses, talked through some slows. We did the Underdog Open for the American Express, the Battle Royale drafts. We talked one and dones. And pretty soon, the big board's going to drop. So I'll see y'all in another one real soon. Thanks for being here. Next Wednesday, we'll be talking everything for the farmers. We'll be doing more golf streams. I might even have some pop-up Albatross draft streams later this week. Stay tuned for what's going on Friday, Saturday. We might get iced in, so I might be going live Saturday if the power doesn't go out. But all that good stuff. Thanks so much for being here. Peace out, guys. Have a great night. Adios.